nailed it. Joined as always by our Barth. That's a fit. That's a match. No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
Those first 5, really 4 weeks, weeks 3 to 6, because you're not going to have your normal routine going into that Steelers game. You're coming off a Wednesday game. It is going to be so important for them to find their rhythm, find their routine, build their momentum, because there is no routine. Once that ends, that's it. It's out the door. And that's where you lean on, to go back to what we talked about so much when Mike Vrabel was hired, the program.
22.
Yeah.
Right? Knowing here's how we go about recovery. Here's how we go about training. Here's how we go about practice. Here's how we go about game planning. Here's how we go about this and that. Because it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to do, all right, Monday we're going to, do recap and recovery. Tuesday's a full recovery day. Coaches and game plan. Wednesday we're going to come in and get most of it installed. Thursday's going to be this. Friday's going to be, no. There is none of that.
22.
Alex, that was a point that Mike Vrabel brought up today in his press conference about all the different ebbs and flows of this upcoming schedule. Busy day today, guys. Busy day.
Yes.
Head coach Mike Vrabel talking before practice, hour and 35, 40 minutes of real practice, and they did some conditioning and walkthrough stuff at the end. Drake Maye at the podium after practice. Eventful day for the middle of the spring, May 27th or whatever it is. So we're going to talk all about it here on Catch-22 for the next couple of hours. We're going to recap everything that Alex and I just saw at Patriots OTAs from start to finish. And I'm excited. I'm excited to actually talk about some real tangible football that isn't hypothetical, that isn't, 6 months of talking about the offseason, that now we actually get something real to sink our teeth into. With that being said, I don't want to come on here today, and I've learned my lesson from years past, Alex. I don't want to come on here today and overrate what we just saw and get too crazy about what we just saw. Drake Maye threw an interception in practice. Some people have taken that and run with it as a negative about Kyle Williams in my mentions already. I don't want to do that. I think the most important things that come out of a practice like this are twofold. Who was at practice and who was participating, which is a long list of different things that went on, and we'll talk about that. And then where everybody was playing, where everybody was slotted in, what positions they were playing, that sort of thing. Less about performance, more about process of what's going on out there on the practice field. So that is a football. I know that there's some stuff that people are going to talk about with Mike Vrabel and what's going on off the field and his demeanor and his comments on that. We're going to stick to football here on this show, but along those lines, attendance. The one big story, and I hate that this is what we're talking about, but this is the story coming out of this practice right now, Alex, was that Christian Gonzalez was not there.
Right.
Not present. Now, you laid out really well last week how these things aren't linear. They had their first OTA yesterday. We were not there. So was Christian Gonzalez in the house yesterday and he wasn't there today? Will he be there tomorrow? Will he be there when we get the practice next week on Tuesday? We'll have another open OTA to the media. Will he be there Tuesday? These things can change rapidly, and we don't have all the information. Mike Vrabel was asked about it. He did say, the list of absences were accurate that he gave us. There weren't any other surprises or any unknown absences. I'll read that list here in a second. But he did say that he's been in contact with Christian Gonzalez this offseason, and they have, a good understanding. They have good communication between him and the team. The other thing I would just add with the Christian Gonzalez thing is that he has been here for other things. Like we've photographed him during the first couple phases of the offseason. He's been on, pictures of him on Patriots.com. He was in our schedule release video. So he was there for that. So this isn't like, just to call it what it is, this isn't the Kayshon Boutte situation where Boutte hasn't been here.
Right.
Like that's been reported. Mike Reese has reported that. He wasn't there today. So here's the list of absences, and then we can go over just some of the takeaways. Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis, Kayshon Boutte, Mac Hollins, Harold Landry, Gabe Akis. So
Say Kyle Dixon?
Kyle Dixon. Sorry, that was the last one. So those guys were not present. Then we also saw that Elijah Vera Tucker, who's coming off the torn triceps last year, maybe a little bit limited in practice, wasn't full participant, wasn't a full go in team drills. But just right out, let's get right into it because I don't really have much else to add in terms of a runway here. Just what are your takeaways from Christian Gonzalez not being out there? Like I said, Vrabel talked about it a little bit. He was asked directly if it was contract related. He kind of went around that a little bit. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, I was wondering, just because, as you mentioned, like he's been around, so I was wondering if he would do that thing where we see guys show up and they're in a t-shirt and shorts and they don't participate, but they're here, so they can say they're here. And, you know, once we get to mini camp, maybe it changes to that, but he wouldn't be the first. Like, this is what happens. Guys would do a big contract. It's not settled. And so they don't show up to practices they don't have to show up to.
Yeah, I mean, he's a veteran player at this point in his career. He's going into year 4. We see this with other veterans all the time. They can be in and out this time of year. You know, some practices they're here, some practices they're not here. They got other things, they got other obligations, not just vacations. Like, you know, these guys are brands, so they have other things going on. Here was the exact quote on the follow-up question.
And I'll just add this.
Yep.
He's playing in Drake May's charity softball game on Sunday.
He is.
So we know if he's not in the area right now, like he's in the area around this time.
Yeah. So he's around the team.
Yeah.
We're not in any situation yet where it's like a true holdout that he's away from the facility and not reporting and all that kind of stuff. So here was the follow-up question to Mike Vrabel when Vrabel rattled off attendance was, you know, obviously the obvious question, which is Christian Gonzalez is, you know, extension eligible. How much of his spring participation has been impacted by that dynamic of the contract? And Vrabel said those are personal choices for the players. I would say that I value the communication they've had personally. I know that our defensive coaches have had conversations with Christian. So that's where we're at with the Christian Gonzalez thing. He was not there today, and they were up front. You know, he told us before practice that he wasn't going to be there. Vrabel did. So I'm not ready to, again, like I said about the actual performance of one practice in May.
Right.
I'm not ready to go crazy about the fact that he wasn't there, but that's notable. The other guys that weren't there, Kayshon Boutte, another one that we talked a lot about.
That one was, I think, the most expected.
And it feels a little bit more real that situation could be tenuous right now. Yesterday we talked a lot about this on Patriots Unfiltered. We went back and forth a lot about Kayshon Boutte's future. If you keep him with AJ Brown, is he a second contract guy with the Patriots, seeing that he's going into the last year of his rookie deal? He doesn't have the 5th-year option. He wasn't a first-round pick, so he doesn't have the 5th-year option element like Christian Gonzalez does. Same question. Where do we stand currently right now with Kayshon Boutte and his future here?
You can't trade. It's all tied in AJ Brown.
Yeah.
You can't trade him until you have AJ Brown in the building. Even if you think it's 99.9%, that one weird thing happens, and now you've traded Kayshon Boutte and you didn't end up with AJ Brown. Now you're not in a good spot at wide receiver. So, you know, I feel like he probably knows that. I feel like they probably know that. You know, it's if that thing happens, is the damage done and you're going to have to trade him anyway, or do you bring him back and be like, hey, no, there's a role for you? I think it's probably just an order of operations thing. Like, once they get AJ Brown, that's the next shoe to drop, and, you know, he knows it. He's on expiring contract. He probably figures, well, if you don't want me here, I'm not going to show up when I don't need to show up, and
right.
Probably okay with it. Like, get a chance to get some of those younger guys some looks, and yeah.
Vrabel did mention that he's been in touch with Kayshon Boutte.
Yeah.
And they feel good about where Kayshon Boutte is in terms of staying in shape and doing all that stuff, and he mentioned that.
Well, it also helps Vrabel to say that, because if they're going to trade him, you can't go up there and be like, yeah, he's,
sure,
you know,
so
we have no clue what's going on with him.
So I was kind of, I hate to come across with Kayshon Boutte, and I felt like I did yesterday, and I feel bad about it. Like, I hate to come across like I don't like the player and like negative on the player, because that's not where I'm coming from. I just think he kind of is what he is, and I gave him a lot of credit, and I give him a lot of credit for two things. One, pushing through all the things that he's been through, both on the field and off the field, to get himself into a position where he's a pro. He's a pro NFL player. And that wasn't a guarantee when he was drafted in the 6th round and had some issues and things like that. The other thing I give him a lot of credit for is that he's more or less reinvented himself post-traumatic ankle injury.
Yeah.
And when he pre-ankle injury at LSU, he's like this explosive off-the-ball receiver, moving inside, moving outside, catch and run guy. Like, I remember when he broke out at LSU his freshman year, there was like some Odell Beckham type comps for him. Like that kind of ball carrier, that kind of threat, maybe some AJ Brown, like that sort of player. And post ankle injury at LSU, he admitted it last year. Like he doesn't have that level of juice anymore.
Right.
He didn't get it all the way back. He didn't get that level of explosiveness back. And he's reinvented himself as like a catch point guy, like a guy that can win with muscle, ball tracking, boxing guys out, winning the ball at the catch point down the field, that sort of thing. And, you really using like body positioning and like play strength to just kind of power through coverage and make plays on the football down the field like we saw all last year. I just wonder are there ways for him to expand his role? Because if you're pro Kayshon Boutte and you want to keep him around and you think there's more there, that was the big conversation we were having, is there more there? He had 46 targets, 33 catches, 550 yards, 6 touchdowns last year. For most people that are pro Kayshon Boutte, they would say, well, if you up his targets to 90 or 100 and you double his targets, well, wouldn't that just double his yards? And I would just say not necessarily, because are you going to still have the same insane efficiency that he had, the yards per catch, the completion rate that he had on those throws if he has a higher volume role? And when you see with higher volume receivers is the ability to win at all 3 levels of the defense, the ability to move around the formation for a lot of those guys. But I would say a lot of it is like they have 3 levels of ways to threat the defense, like slants, in cuts, vertical routes, like the whole route tree is available. They get open in all different levels of the defense and different coverages. I think right now he's kind of like a go ball specialist.
Yeah.
And he's really good at that one trick, but I don't know if he has other branches to his route tree to expand it. So for that reason, like I don't see Kayshon Boutte becoming a more high volume player. I think he's kind of perfectly placed in a role where he's a low volume receiver and can have that high efficiency and that high yards per catch output. Where does that leave him on the Patriots? I think is obviously tied to AJ Brown. But I would also just say, I'd be wary in some ways of giving him a huge second contract, because isn't this, and we saw him out there today, and I know that, we'll get to it in a second because he was targeted on the throw that Maye threw an interception on today. Wouldn't you ideally think that you could get 35 catches and 500 yards from Kyle Williams?
That should be Kyle Williams' role, exactly. And so if AJ Brown's going to start, and then Kyle Williams is kind of your
backup
pick
X.
your spots, like big play guy.
Yeah.
And that's going to, excuse me, AJ Brown's not going to be here for just 1 year.
Right.
So what, you're going to pay Kayshon Boutte, and he's going to want borderline starting receiver money because that's what he's been. You're going to pay him that to be the third outside guy? It's just not realistic. So I'm with you. Like, I think he's a solid player. He's a good rotational player. There's a role for him in the NFL by all means. It's just, he's not going to play over AJ Brown, and you're trying to develop Kyle Williams, and his contract's up at the end of the year. There really is no short or long-term role for him, and if you can get something for him at that point, instead of just letting him walk, why wouldn't you get something for him?
Yeah, that's the big rub for me with Kayshon Boutte. It's not so much the player, it's the fact that he's going to need a new contract. If he
was still signed for 3 years, you keep him and he's good depth and all of that. Right, exactly. He's not.
Yeah. Okay, so Christian Gonzalez, Kayshon Boutte, those were sort of the big ones that we feel maybe might be contract related or something like that, right? Carlton Davis, Mac Hollins, Harold Landry. Not shocking that those guys, veteran players that aren't practicing in May, is not terribly shocking.
I mean, just given the role they need Landry to play and the fact he's coming off an injury, I don't want to say it's concerning, but He's still rehabbing this,
You think
and that becomes probably
he could just it's year.
I guess he
11
could have just knocked
or whatever it
this
is.
is a guy that was a captain last year.
Sure.
He came last year for all of them, right? I don't think he missed any last year.
That sounds right, but it was also his first year here.
That's true. I don't know. He's somebody I just think you watch a little bit closer because he's a very, very, very crucial player for them this year.
Yeah.
Especially Akis not being here.
So I want to get to that one.
Like, there's going to be a lot. They need Harold Landry to be a guy this year for that defense to be what it probably needs to be for them to get back to and win the Super Bowl. They need Landry to be the guy he was before he got hurt last year. So anything with him, I think you monitor a little bit closer.
So the other two, Gabe Akis, are rookies. Gabe Akis and Kyle Dixon. We did see Kyle Dixon on the lower field. So it sounds like Kyle Dixon's dealing with probably something more on the minor side, that he's not a full participant in the practice. Gabe Akis is an interesting one. We saw him physically at rookie minicamp, but he wasn't participating in rookie minicamp. And now he's not at the first OTA practice either. And he still hasn't signed his rookie contract. So neither is Lomu. Lomu's participating. It's Lomu and Akis that still haven't signed their rookie contracts. Raritan has signed his deal, and he was back out there after missing rookie minicamp. So Raritan came back. We saw Raritan today out there. With Akis, in the pre-draft process, there was a hamstring that limited him a little bit. He didn't work out at the combine because of the hamstring. He had his own private workout in early April before the draft for teams after not participating in the combine or Illinois Pro Day. So it could be tied to the hamstring. I don't know that. That's just conjecture, but it could be. This is one that I'm starting to perk up a little bit with. You're not working out in rookie minicamp. Early days of OTAs, it doesn't seem like he's out there either. This is a player that most of us thought was going to have the clearest path to contribute right away because of the need at that spot. Lomu is probably going to sit behind the two tackles. Raritan's going to sit behind Hunter Henry and Julian Hill and learn the ropes.
At least.
Akis was the one that was supposed to contribute right away.
Right.
And we know how this goes. The train starts moving in the spring, and if you're not on the train, then you fall behind, and that whole thing. This one has my antennas up a little bit. What's going on with him? Mike Vrabel wasn't asked about it today. Hopefully he gets asked about it next week when he has another press conference before practice on Tuesday. But it would be nice to see Akis out there, and he's not out there.
Yeah, no, it's, again, between him and Landry, that's their thinnest spot. I think that position is probably the biggest question going into the season, the edge rusher group as a whole. And your top veteran and your top rookie both weren't there. And are both, I forget if I said already, Akis was dealing with a hamstring issue during the pre-draft process. I don't know for sure that that's it, but just he's missing time. He was dealing with that injury. You mentioned it. It's part of the story. Those are two crucial players. Draymond Jones, your top edge rusher right now. Draymond Jones, Elijah Ponder.
Yeah.
And then who is it after that? You're looking at Braden Swinson take another step, or Quintavious Hutchins, the 7th round pick. That group gets real thin real quick. These are guys you need, and you need it 100%. And so it is absolutely notable.
Yep. So you mentioned Elijah Ponder. He got a lot of the run there opposite of Draymond Jones without Landry and Akis. I didn't see Swinson get a ton of reps with the top defense. It was mostly Ponder, Draymond Jones. We'll get to some more of that here in a second. I wanted to run through attendance really quickly. The last piece of sort of attendance note was Elijah Vera-Tucker's participation.
Yep.
So this is kind of a segue into the offensive line, which I think is the second biggest story.
Agree.
I think the biggest story is, frankly, the biggest story is probably Mike Vrabel, but we don't talk about that on the show. So the second biggest story is Christian Gonzalez. The third biggest story, I would say, is the offensive line. With the offensive line, the first bit of news coming out of this practice, Elijah Vera-Tucker has the torn triceps. He, ended his season early last year as a result. He's still working his way back, it seems. He participated in the walkthroughs, the jog-throughs, that sort of portion of practice, and with the other starters on the offensive line. He was the top left guard. He wasn't, Rupich wasn't rotating in until we got to the actual live team. Live, I put in air quotes.
As live as you can be this time of year.
Air quotes, live part of practice. Then we got into that part of practice, the real 11-on-11 stuff. And item number one is that Vera-Tucker doesn't seem fully ready to do that yet.
Yeah.
coming off the rehab of the triceps. Item number 2 is that Andrew Rupcich.
I meant to look. I think it's Rupcich.
Rupcich is maybe the current like inside track at winning a guard job.
Rupcich, yeah.
The backup guard competition here. Very, very early days.
Rupcich.
Very early days, like no pads, no contact whatsoever. Ben Brown was at center for most of this practice. So Ben Brown swings, in the interior. So like that's really your top backup there. What do you make of, I don't really make much of Elijah Vera Tucker not being a full go yet. I think he'll be fine. This is just sort of a rehab sort of process thing with him. With Rupcich, what do you make of him being right now, at least as for what it's worth, early leader in the clubhouse there?
Veteran guy who Vrabel has experience with. Big dude. I didn't realize how big he was until today's practice. We just didn't see him line up much. He didn't get here, I think, until into the season last year. I believe they signed him out of he was here.
What's up with?
Yeah, he signed the practice squad on September 30th.
What's their infatuation with Culver Stockton?
Right, Culver Stockton guy.
We need to figure out if there's got to be somebody tied to Culver Stockton that's tied to New England.
Well,
I don't know what
tied
it is.
to Vrabel because Rupcich was with him in Tennessee.
Yeah, so or maybe Cowden
or
and
the
Stretch
Vrabel
and,
people.
the Vrabel tree, Vrabel tree, because something is.
They have
that's two guys from a very obscure school.
That's the new Rutgers.
Or the new John Carroll University, I'd say, is what it really is.
No, because John Carroll University is like coaches.
I know, but Rutgers is at least a D1 program in like a big conference. Like Culver Stockton isn't in the NIAA. Like this is like very small school.
Anyway, big dude, has some experience with them. Veteran, more of a veteran, I should say. He's going to his 3rd year, but kind of reminds me of Wes Schweitzer last year. Yeah. Remember we saw him out there, we were like, is he just a veteran and they're giving him the difference here, or is he really in line? But I mean, when you look at it, especially on the left side.
Like, who else would it be?
Caden Wallace is really only repped at right guard. They had Sebastian Gutierrez, who's a tackle, as the 3rd left guard.
Yeah.
Or the 2nd left guard, however you want to cut it. We didn't see John Darius Morgan. We didn't see Jacob Rizzi during those periods. Maybe it's by default. That could be another one that highlights, I've said this, like guard could be something they're looking for on the waiver wire at the end of the season.
So
at the end of training camp.
Ben Brown was, I got some questions about, where was Ben Brown? Ben Brown was at center.
Ben Brown was at center the whole time.
And so was Rizzi. Rizzi was repping with, Jared Wilson as the top center, Ben Brown.
Yeah, that like one Rizzi time they did that 3rd year.
Yeah, Rizzi was the 3rd center. You have Caden Wallace, who, was drafted by the Gerard Mayo year Patriots and not a Mike Vrabel guy, not a Vrabel draft pick. Mekhi Butler, who played a little bit, got some reps with the 2nd team right guard at right guard. So he's in this conversation. And then Rupcich, obviously the 2 UDFAs who are, the 2 UDFAs crown over, like those guys are in a real developmental period of their development right now. So maybe it was Wes Schweitzer. Maybe it was by default that he was like the last kind of guy left that made the most sense. But he was the one that stepped in for Vera Tucker with, Ben Brown obviously backing up center. So the top line when they were whole in the walkthroughs was as expected. And this is kind of item number 2 on the line with Caleb Lomu and where he ends up. So Will Campbell was at left tackle the whole practice with the ones. Yeah. I didn't see Caleb Lomu over there at all. Elijah Vera Tucker at left guard, during the walkthrough periods. Rupcich during team. Jared Wilson at center. Mike Onwenu at right guard and Morgan Moses at right tackle. And then Caleb Lomu was like Morgan Moses would take like 3 or 4 reps, and then Caleb Lomu would take his spot at right tackle and take a couple with the starters. And then they do that over and over again. So Caleb Lomu was repping behind Morgan Moses at right tackle. And this time of year in May, it's not uncommon at all for Morgan Moses to be on a pitch count and to be rotating quite heavily in team periods. So right now, that's where they're training Lomu, is at right tackle. Right. So we do not have, much to the chagrin of your station, I think, we do not have any sort of left tackle competition yet. Like right now, it's still Will Campbell's job. Caleb Lomu's training behind Morgan Moses, like we all kind of anticipated. What did you make out of what you saw from Lomu? I have a couple takes on that, and a couple more on the line. But what did you see from Lomu?
His stance is different. He's very upright at Utah.
Yeah,
and he's much lower.
So is
now.
Campbell. That was one thing with Campbell coming out, was that he was
more upright,
because they all they're always in a 2-point stance, like
right.
So they don't.
No, but even the 2-point stance is lower now.
Yeah.
I don't know why I stood out more for Lomu. Maybe I just don't remember Campbell from last year. But Vrabel said before practice there were some things he was talking about, because we hadn't heard from him since they made that pick. Was talking about with Lomu. He said it's not that guys can't do things. Sometimes they're just not to coach to do things in college. You've been big on this with Lomu, actually, in terms of the, how RPO heavy that offense was and things like that. So, and he mentioned that there's just some technique things that they've coached him through. That was one where I looked at, like, they definitely tweaked his stance, his pre-snap 2-point stance.
Yeah.
And, some of the other stuff is just really hard to tell technique-wise, blocking in a non-padded setting. But much lower stance, that would be the big and the fact that he was just at right tackle the whole time.
Yeah, there was a couple times I saw it at rookie minicamp a little bit too. He was getting beat around the high side, his outside edge, especially by like active hands, like double swipes and things like that with pass rushers. Like that to me is all punch timing and like figuring out how to have different pitches to throw with your punches.
Yeah.
In college, like you can just throw the same punch over and over again, and if you're good, it's not going to make a difference. Once you get up to the pros and like Elijah Ponder or Draymond Jones, it's mostly Elijah Ponder on the right side that he was going up against in Landry's spot. Most of the time in the pros, when a guy sees that you're a two-hand puncher, like he sort of gets a rhythm on you of like, okay,
right.
You're going to throw it here on your second step. I'm going to swipe it away and I'm going to bend. So, maybe having a little bit more of a change up. And I think Campbell, vertical sets with Campbell last year this became a little bit of a problem too, with some predictability. Like these are all things that like young linemen kind of go through. The one thing I really liked with the line too, just to point out a couple more things there, I really just like the look of Jared Wilson at center. Like it means nothing. It's so stupid.
Just naturally looks like a center.
But it just I liked how it looked better. I liked how the line looked better. Looking at Campbell and Veritucker next to each other, I thought that they just sort of had more surface area over there. There's a bigger body next to Campbell, which I thought just kind of like looked the right way. And I think Jared Wilson looks like a natural at the center position where you can be a little smaller, a little blockier. Like you don't necessarily need to have that kind of girth like you do at the other spots. So that was the offensive line for most of practice. The other couple of things on the offensive side of the ball that stood out to me, Alex, first look at Romeo Doubs, who I will say, like, I didn't really think of Romeo Doubs in this way per se. Fills the suit really nicely. Like he's got
You're all about the aesthetics today, huh?
Well, what else am I going to look at?
No, I know. That's what this is. That's fair.
First throw we have seen of the spring. They were out there yesterday, so we weren't there. Very first throw of the spring is a little like slant under route to Romeo Doubs. And I was like, How many times are we going to see that for the next 3 or 4 years? Like we might see that 45 times next year between those two guys. But I really liked how he filled out the suit. I did. I thought that he looked like, and granted there weren't, Keyshawn Boutte wasn't there. Mac Hollins wasn't there. So some of their bigger wide receivers weren't there. But just looking at him next to Kyle Williams, Efton Chisholm, Pop Douglas,
and a bunch of small guys.
Some of the UDFAs, I was like, that's the NFL receiver right there. That's the.
You sure it's not just the Guardian cap?
I don't think so.
No, it's
maybe
not.
It's the 87. Maybe
it's a real wide receiver number. I wish more guys wore numbers in the 80s. And I thought, as much as you can be on the first day of OTAs, him and Drake Maye felt like they were on the same page. Again, for this point of the year, for whatever that's worth, there's obviously a way to go, like just to counter it, not to pick on the guy, but just to counter it. There was one play during one of the more live periods where Drake kind of doubled back in the pocket to extend it, and he wanted to throw I think it was a deep sail route to Julian Hill.
Yeah.
Hill gave up on the route.
Yeah.
Hill started jogging, and it ended up being an overthrow. And that's, especially with this guy at quarterback, with this kind of quarterback, you can't give up on routes. You're any of the 5 guys at any point, he could find you.
Yeah.
So, and that's not to say Julian Hill's going to suck. Like, you hope he learned his lesson. You only do that so many times before the quarterback doesn't trust you. but like didn't see any of that from Romeo Doubs or anything like that. Like felt like him and Drake Maye for day one had good chemistry.
Yeah, for day one, I thought so. There was one throw down the right sideline of Romeo Doubs where I think he got a little bit hung up on. I think it was Vildor, one of those outside corners. And at first I was like, oh, well, because in my head, when Drake Maye, went to throw the ball, I was saying, like, keep running to Romeo Doubs, right?
Yeah.
On the one hand, I was like, oh, well, he's probably adjusting to that. On the other hand, he played with Jordan Love last year, who does the same thing. A lot of back foot, guy in his face bombs from Jordan Love, too. So that was maybe one where I was, he maybe just got tripped up or hung up on the coverage just a little bit and wasn't able to outrun the football, so to speak. But I thought that in general, just, looked the part for the first impression. Like I said, I'm commenting on another man's physique, and I thought the physique passed the eye test and, looked good in the Patriots jersey for the first time. Speaking of Drake Maye, we've gone 30 minutes in and we still haven't talked about the quarterback, which I feel like is a decent sign. It's also not really,
Well, no, I want to talk about this because I said this last year.
Yeah.
It's been years since. Do you remember I said that we had this, and I think some people got mad at me for this take, but. Remember I had that whole thing about last year, about like, I can't wait until it's not Drake Maye just isn't news.
Yep.
And like, oh, Drake Maye did this and that at practice. Like, okay, and like we never would sit here and be like, Tom Brady did like, all right, yeah, he's Tom Brady. Of course he did all that. We're there with Drake Maye. How many years has it been since nitpicking the quarterback performance was not the top story of one of these things? We did it last year, because Drake was still kind of an unknown. We did it the year before because he was a rookie. He was in competition with Jacoby Brissett. We basically did it all 3 Mac Jones years. And we did it the year before that with Newton and Stidham.
Yeah.
So this is the first time since like 2019 we don't have to lead a practice recap, with here's what the quarterback did, what's going to happen, we don't know. Like, how great is it having a known-in quarterback? And we don't have to do this every week. But the fact it's the first time we've been able to do this in how long... It's kind of nice.
It is.
I just want to recognize the moment. I want to recognize Drake Maye for that.
Look how far we come. Look at us. We have a quarterback. Isn't this great? So
he did throw a pick though.
He did throw a pick,
but that is 3 fewer picks that he threw in this practice last year.
So I thought that overall the passing game was a little bit clunky.
It's always a little clunky,
but it's always right. It's way too early to overreact to that in any sort of way. I thought it was a little bit bumpy though. There was a couple of like Maye sprays in there where I thought, maybe the route wasn't exactly what he was expecting to see, and he kind of airmailed it over some guys' heads. The interception, I know I tweeted about it, and everybody's, Kyle Williams not on the same page still with Drake Maye, still running wrong routes.
It was an underthrow.
It was a bad throw.
It was just an underthrow.
Threw it out inside. You can't throw it out inside. Not in the NFL, at least. Maybe you can get away with that in college. If you throw an out route, especially to the field, as Drake Maye said after practice, that thing's got to be hummed into the sideline. Like, you can't throw the ball to the inside shoulder because it's going to get jumped like Karen Prunty jumped that throw. A little
Karan.
bit, is it Karan?
That was Karan, yeah.
A little up and down for the passing game and the offense and Drake Maye. But there was still like 3 or 4 moments that it was like, okay, there's Drake Maye. Like the throw to Hunter Henry on the sail route, settling him into the zone, I thought was a really nice throw. The crossing route to Pop Douglas was another really nice throw. There was like 3 or 4 of those where I still was like, yeah, that's the runner-up for MVP.
Do you put any stock into, because last year it kind of became a thing, does he like throwing to Pop Douglas? And where's he at throwing to the shorter guys and things like that? Threw to Pop Douglas a lot today.
So
there's some guys not out there.
Sure.
But
so your top 3 receivers were mostly Kyle Williams, Pop Douglas, Romeo Doubs.
Yeah.
With Kyle Williams at the X, Romeo Doubs at the Z, Pop Douglas in the slot. Right. So that was really their like 11 personnel grouping out there today. We saw a lot of Hunter Henry and Julian Hill, not so much Raritan with the top group.
We even saw Westover over Raritan.
Yeah, and then we also saw, obviously Gilliam get some routes in there as well. I wanted to get to Pop and also a little bit of Efton Chisholm kind of related. I think those two are kind of tied to each other this spring and summer. Pop, to me, and he has that 7-on-7 background in Florida where apparently he's like a legend down there in 7-on-7.
You say it like you don't believe it.
No, I believe it. I just didn't see it. Like
Okay.
it just that's
I believe it.
those are the tales of Pop Douglas in 7-on-7. He tore up camp last year too. He did. He had an excellent.
This is his kind of setting.
Yeah, because you can't hit him. So when you have this little jitterbug slot receiver that's got great speed and great quickness, and there's no threat of anybody hitting him coming over the middle of the field, he was the most active receiver today, to his credit. He caught pretty much everything that was thrown his way that was accurate. I think he had 4 catches in team drills. Maybe it was 5. He was active. He was noticeable. But we probably could find tape of us talking about Pop Douglas being active and noticeable in May of last year and in June of last year and even the early parts of training camp last year. Like how much for one practice, we're not really putting much stock into anything.
Yeah.
But like how much is it going to take for you to truly believe that Pop Douglas is like taking another step?
I'm not going to be able to quit Pop Douglas. I just love his skill set so much. I think that guy can be so effective. Again, I'd run him more vertically. I've said that a million times.
Yep.
It's just clearly Drake Maye likes throwing to the bigger receivers, and that's not Pop Douglas. And was today a sign that maybe Maye has gotten through that and is willing to get Pop Douglas more involved? Or was it just, hey, I don't know any of these guys that are out here. I've never really thrown to any of them, but I know this guy, so I'll throw to him. Like, that's what we're going to have to see. We probably don't get an answer on that till the summer when everybody's out there, hopefully including A.J. Brown. But, yeah, that's where I'm at. It's just, he can play. It's just, is he a fit?
It comes back to the same thing with him. It feels like every single time. It's just, can he be in the right places at the right times? And can he make the easy plays? I have no doubt that Pop Douglas has the explosiveness, the speed, the quickness, the athleticism to be a productive receiver in the NFL. It's all going to come down to between the ears with him. And then also his physical limitations and overcoming the fact that he's 5'8", right? Like that's a big part of it too. But that he can't control. He is how big he is, like he can't grow. But you can grow as a player mentally. And if he takes that next step mentally, his quickness inside's a problem. He even ran off Marcus Jones on a route in this practice where he came back to the ball on the sideline and ran a nice route on Marcus Jones and got open in front of him. Like he's a problem for guys up and down the depth chart at corner with his speed. He's just got to be in the right places. Right. Whereas with Efton Chisholm, I feel the exact opposite. Efton Chisholm, I wonder if Efton Chisholm is an NFL athlete, but man, that guy is always in the right spot. Like when you watch him run routes inside, he was working mostly with Tommy DeVito in this practice, but every single time the ball needed to come out quickly, every single time they were working those option routes in the middle of the field, it just seems like Efton Chisholm makes all the right decisions, but he doesn't have nearly the upside and the athleticism that a Pop Douglas has. So if that is kind of a competition, especially once we start to add A.J. Brown, hopefully, into this mix, it does kind of feel like that final spot at wide receiver could come down to which slot receiver they prefer, Pop Douglas or Efton Chisholm. And I think in some ways they're like polar opposite players, even though they play the same position. Like one of them is like a speed slot down the field, more type of receiver like Douglas, who's going to win with his, just pure speed and explosiveness. Chisholm's going to win the thinking man's game. What did you see from Chisholm? Do you think he kind of looked the same to me, but he still is in all the right places at all the right times?
He might have bulked up a little bit too. He looks a little bit bigger. Yeah, kind of the same thing. He's another guy that we'll need to see when the pads come on. To see where he's at.
Last thing on the offense, and then we'll move over to the defense unless you have anything else. Land Larison. My guy, Land Larison Island. RB3 Land Larison. Wish it went a little bit better. There was a drop at one point. It was a high pass, but he probably should have caught it. I counted it as a drop. I didn't think that he was like pulling away from the pack a whole lot on some of the screens that they ran in the practice as well. It didn't necessarily wow me, but he was the guy. Like we talked about attendance and where guys were playing, and
pretty clearly Terrell Jennings got a couple of reps there. But it was really Larison swapping with Henderson on the second unit. I don't think those guys are competing. It just kind of shows you for that second job. I think it just shows you where they view the cutoff. I mean, we didn't really see Jim Miller, Miles Montgomery at all.
Right.
Except when Baron Morton was out there. So it feels like Larison's on a different standing from those guys and then again ahead of Terrell Jennings.
Yeah, I thought so as well. Do you have anything else on the offense? Like I mentioned, a lot of Hill, a lot of Henry, some McGilliam, not a ton of Raritan with the top group yet.
We saw Westover over Raritan.
Yeah.
Which feels notable. Now, again, he's a rookie. He'll have time to catch up, but I think they're at their best if he can get into that second tight end role by the time the season starts. I think that's pretty much all I had. Again, we talked about the way the offensive line depth went.
Yeah.
I guess, how'd you feel about Tommy DeVito, backup quarterback?
I actually thought he made some good decisions in this practice. Like, not necessarily wowing me with, like, arm, which he's not going to.
No, and this is more about the decisions.
Yeah, I thought that he looked like he was running the offense. I didn't think it was a disaster. I didn't think that the offense came to a halt. He had one nice play rolling to his right where he kind of got out of the pocket a little bit and made a throw, extended throw. I think it was to Efton Chisholm. But overall, I thought fine. Baron Morton, we didn't see a whole lot of. Oh, there's one other thing that we got to circle back on before we move over to the defense. Kyle Williams. We got to talk a little bit about his practice. We talked a little bit about it earlier. I want to reiterate that I really felt like the pick wasn't a bad route. I know that everybody's going to gang up on him and say that it was a bad route.
Underthrown.
There was actually a throw earlier that I thought was maybe more of a bad route where I think it was actually with DeVito. He curled inside and DeVito threw it outside, and it was, they kind of weren't on the same page exactly there. He also, I couldn't see who the corner was, but he got behind the defense.
He burnt one of the UDFA corners and Morton overthrew him, but he got opened. He got legitimately opened.
So he was active. He was, involved. The ball was coming his way.
It's tough to judge, though, without Hollins, Booty, A.J. Brown. We didn't get a full picture of what that depth chart looks like.
May hit him on one of May's better plays, not better throws, but he kind of slide stepped in, kind of the May swing through and slide step up in the pocket and hit Kyle Williams on a little shallow crosser. I thought that, though, there was still some up and down to Kyle Williams today. The pick wasn't on him. I will reiterate that. But I do think that there was still that semblance of okay, this guy separates, he gets open, he's clearly got great speed, but they just need him to finish the play a little bit better. It's top of the route technique. It's, getting, well, frankly, on target throws for him. Because the one that he burned the corner down the sideline, the Baron Morton just overthrew him. It wasn't.
Yeah, no, he was fine on that.
There was nothing he could do. He just, but it just seems like a lot of the time with Kyle Williams, and I want to know what you make of it. Things just seem a little bit off sometimes. It's just not 100% crisp.
Yeah, I thought last year, and this is where it'll be interesting to see what happens once everybody's here. It was the same thing with Chisholm. He just didn't really get any reps. And so much of this offense is timing and chemistry. And how many routes did he run with Drake Maye last spring and summer? Not a lot.
Yeah.
Because I remember Kendrick Bourne was still here. Javon Baker was still here. And should he have been repping behind some of those guys? I don't know. It doesn't matter. That part's over. So when we bring it back around this year, is he going to get more? If Kayshon Boutte gets traded, even if A.J. Brown's here, is he going to get more as that second X? Yeah. Is he going to get some more reps maybe at the Z behind Romeo Doubs, things like that? Does he kind of become your base? What's your base 11 if A.J. Brown's here? Brown, Doubs, and then
Matt Collins.
Or
probably.
Matt Collins, right? But Kyle Williams, one of the things I liked about Kyle Williams, I think he can play all three positions, but he was third on the depth chart at all three positions last year.
Yeah.
And this year, he's maybe your top backup at each of those spots. Potentially even, I could see it realistically competing with Hollins and Pop for some of those 11 reps, especially in certain situations or certain formations.
Definitely pure passing spread formations where, Matt Collins might not be the best option there.
Right.
Someone that could really get open and separate.
That's where I'm curious. I thought I'm with you. I thought the timing and things were off. The details were a little bit off. Got better later in the year, which leads me to believe he just didn't get a ton of run in the summer. And that's not easy. He's put on some weight and he has another year in the system and earn the opportunity here early on to get more reps in camp. So he's on the same page as Drake Maye. And then once that happens, put the whole thing together. That's where I'm at with him. And to a lesser extent, I think you could say all the same things about Efton Chisholm too. But, Kyle Williams is talking about a true playmaker. And again, he's never going to be a high-volume player.
Right.
It's not his role. It's not his skill set. But I'm just interested to see, again, can he earn more opportunity so he can get on the same page so we don't have to do this whole thing again of, well, is he not on the same page or is he just not good? Because I think that's the question a lot of people were asking last year.
100%. I think that there's so much raw talent there that you can see that he's got in terms
Yeah.
of like, there's not a whole lot of guys on this team, even with AJ Brown, that are like pure down the field separators. Like AJ Brown is not that at this stage of his career. AJ Brown's winning more at the catch point, like Kayshon Boutte style on a lot of his vertical routes. Ideally, if Kyle Williams takes that next step and you're in 3rd and 8 and you're in a true passing situation and you're 11 personnel, 3 receivers, you got Drake Maye's in the gun, you're spreading the field out. Like, wouldn't you want the 3rd receiver to be somebody that can truly get open and not maybe somebody that is going to like win more contested, like a Matt Collins, or if Boutte's still here, or a smaller guy like Pop or Efton Chisholm. So Kyle Williams, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. You talk a lot about draft and develop. And I think some people take draft and develop as in like draft, develop homegrown talent and keep homegrown talent on 2nd and 3rd contracts. Part of drafting and developing is not having to overpay for guys like Kayshon Boutte. Right. Where you can
get the next guy in the pipeline.
Right. So this is what they're trying to do at other spots, maybe guys that are a little bit older than Kayshon Boutte, but Morgan Moses at right tackle with Caleb Lomu, Hunter Henry and Eli Raridan. Like that, Gabe Akis and Harold Landry. Like that's what they're trying to do here as a true draft and develop team, is draft these guys a year early, and develop them. Kyle Williams was brought onto the roster. He kind of brings something to the table that other guys don't, because the only other guy that brings his kind of speed is Pop, but he's a bigger guy than Pop. He's just got a bigger frame than Pop Douglas does. So ideally, that's where they're going with Kyle Williams. You just would like to see a little bit more sharpness to the execution, a little bit more crispness with him. All right, let's move over to the defense. So a couple of things on the defense that stood out to me. Obviously, no Carlton Davis and no Christian Gonzalez puts a wrench in your cornerback. Rotation there.
Thought it was good though. I mean, a chance to see. We know what those guys are. Obviously, got to get Gonzalez's contract figured out. We know what those guys are.
Yep.
And really, a full rotation behind them: Minor, Woods, Vilder, Prunty, and that's going to be a battle. I thought all those guys played well, but not having those top corners out, we really got a full look at who's next.
Yeah. So a lot of Kobe Minor, a lot of Vildor, like you said, a lot of Prunty. A little bit of Charles Woods out there too, but I think they kind of feel like they know what they have with Charles Woods, and seeing those other guys there. Who stood out to you in that group? But obviously Prunty had the pick.
Woods had a really good pass breakup on Hunter Henry.
Yep.
And then Vildor had a pass breakup on Pop Douglas. So I thought, as much as you can evaluate corners in a jog through, I thought it was a good day for that group. And we'll see. Again, this is going to be one of those battles. It's one, maybe 2 spots. But I thought across the board was impressed with their cornerback group today.
Vildor was the one guy that just kind of stood out to me. Not that the others didn't have good practice.
You can tell his experience compared to the other guys.
Yeah, and I feel like he has like a good frame to him, and he looks like pretty calm out there. When you watch corners, you just want to see guys. The first like step to me with watching corners is there panic in their technique? Like, do they trust their technique? Do they trust their speed? Do they trust their athleticism? He looked like he was kind of in control of what he was doing out there, and that's probably comes with experience and stuff like that. So I just thought that he. When you get to at this point, year 2 of Mike Vrabel and year 2 of an off season where they're bringing in their own players, you kind of know what a Patriots corner is supposed to look like. Kendall Vildor, 5'11", 190, like kind of just looks the part of a Patriots corner at this point. Has got some size to him. Isn't 5'8", 5'9". He's got some size. He's got some meat on the frame, that sort of thing. I thought he stood out the most, but I thought all of them were fine. Like, I didn't think anybody really did anything that stood out the other
direction. You can't really,
direction.
in this practice at that position, but...
The way he moved stood out the most to me. Marcellus Dial, who I still am not giving up on. In general, he
was limited.
Limited still with the coming off the ASC. Yeah,
he'll be in the mix when he's healthy.
So the one other thing that I thought was interesting, Mike Brown at safety was getting a pretty good amount of
run.
Looked
like the third guy.
And especially, they had some 3 safety nickel stuff that they were doing with him alongside Woodson and Byard when the Patriots went regular heavy personnel on offense. They were matching that without Marcus Jones at times on the field out of that nickel spot. Mike Brown, it kind of reminds me, hopefully, if it pans out, of what happened with Jalen Hawkins. Like,
absolutely. I was saying this the other day. Absolutely.
Like, Jalen Hawkins was not he started a year in Atlanta, right? If I'm not mistaken, he
Yes.
played a lot that year with the Falcons.
I'm trying to remember because the same thing. They did the same thing with Adrian Phillips too.
Yeah, but he wasn't a guy that was, more touted as like a depth player, back into the roster, special teams kind of guy. Comes to New England, carves out a role for himself, ends up starting on a team that made the Super Bowl. I'm not saying Mike Brown's going to start because Woodson and Kevin Byard are going to start. But is there a chance that Mike Brown could maybe, I guess, elevate over Del Pettis probably as that true third safety and also give them some flexibility to maybe play some three safeties?
I hope so. I mean, I want them to play more three safety. I've talked about this.
Yeah.
And he does have the most defensive experience of anybody in that group. They need someone to step up because they are kind of thin there. If Mike Brown can be like a solid rotational player, that'd be huge for them. So at least giving it a look and seeing if it works, I think is smart.
It feels a lot like the Jalen Hawkins situation because Jalen Hawkins also like kind of built up right to playing more with the Patriots. Like Jalen Hawkins played a little bit his first year with the Patriots and then played obviously a lot last year. So just looking at Mike Brown, I think he played a little bit last year. If I'm not mistaken, was he it was in Miami, right? Or Tennessee? Tennessee. So he played 36% of the defensive snaps last year in Tennessee. He played 18% the year before Meg Vrabel's last year with the Titans in 2023. So 36, almost 37% isn't nothing. Like that is some NFL experience, for him with the Titans. And I want to say Jalen Hawkins was pretty similar in terms of like the buildup from being kind of a back end of the roster player, just make the team, special teams kind of guy, and then up to, a starting caliber player with the Patriots. He might have played a little bit more with Atlanta. So he played 91% of the snaps in Atlanta one year, and then his snap count went way back down the following year. I think he got hurt. With the Patriots his first year, Jalen Hawkins played 54% of the snaps. So kind of similar. And then he last year, obviously 92%. So as a starter. So maybe something there with Mike Brown. The other thing that stood out to me on defense, Corey Durden. Corey Durden's a guy that they need to be a dude. And I think they feel like he might be a dude.
I mean, Vrabel got asked before practice, like, are you looking for Corey Durden to step up this year? It's like, I think he already has.
Yeah.
And he's the Tonga replacement. They felt pretty clear that was the case.
It seemed like they felt, we thought maybe they would look at that this offseason to replace Kairos Tonga, whether it was a draft pick or a free agent signing. I think they kind of felt like they had Kairos Tonga at home. Like they had a replacement with Corey Durden. Four-man fronts was, pretty, all of it was pretty chalk, but Draymond Jones, Milton Williams, Barmore, Ponder, when they went to those five-man fronts, like a true 3-4, which they do on early downs and, run situations, things like that, it was Durden in between Milton Williams and Barmore.
Yep, and that was Tonga last year.
So that was the Tonga role. Spillane and Ellis, obviously at the second level a whole lot. I thought KJ Britt had a nice pass breakup, and then I think he might have left practice early at the end, so that was kind of a bummer. But he broke up a pass on a crossing route to Raritan DeVito at quarterback. That was a nice play. They need another guy that they kind of need to emerge here.
Yeah,
I thought
that third linebacker.
He looked good before. I think he might have gotten hobbled up at the end of practice. We'll see if he's out there next week, but they need that third linebacker to step up. Was weird seeing Craig Woodson in 4. I didn't really like that.
Yeah, still not used to those single digits. Also, Draymond Jones in 5.
Yeah, that was. I don't like single digits for pass rushers. Although Judon,
better than the teens, I guess.
Judon rocked the 9.
There's always an exception to the rule.
Judon was. I mean, he was just swaggy in general,
right?
But he seemed to really rock the 9 pretty well. So maybe it'll grow on me with the single digits for Craig Woodson. Anything else on defense that I missed? I think that was pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what happens with these corners. One of these guys is going to emerge. I think Charles Woods is pretty much. I wouldn't say it's a guarantee by any means that he's going to make the team, but is it like more probable than not that he makes a team at this point?
I think that's what these next few practices will tell us. They kind of set the stage for that.
Yeah, I think Vildor is the guy right now that I would say is maybe got the best chance to be the 5th. If it's the top 3, obviously Gonzalez, Davis, Marcus Jones, Charles Woods, maybe the 4th guy. Kendall Vildor is maybe the 5th guy. All right, so that was our rundown of practice. I'm sure we have plenty of calls and emails with questions about what we saw out there. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we also want to start our Around the AFC East series is a listener idea. A lot of listeners asked us to do this. So we're going to start with the JETS, Jets. Then we're going to go through all the teams. I decided, Ace, to break up we're going to save the Bills for last because we're going to argue about the Bills. You know that. We argued about it last week, so I figured let's put a buffer.
We didn't argue about the Bills. We argued not understanding how a coin toss works.
Let's put a buffer in between Bills conversations because I feel like it's not good for anybody for us to double up on Bills arguments. So we'll do the Bills in a couple of weeks, but we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Come welcome our newest restaurant additions at Patriot Place. Estella brings a celebration of flavors with a modern fusion menu, exciting cocktails, and brunch available daily beginning at 11 a.m. Enjoy freshly brewed coffee and Mediterranean-inspired breakfast and lunch from Angel's Cafe. Craving the classics? Chick-fil-A makes it easy to grab your favorite with mobile through, carry-out, and dine-in options. Download the Patriot Place Advantage app for special offers and to earn rewards every time you visit. Patriot Place. Shop, dine, enjoy.
The heaviest metal credit card of all time. Wielded at business dinners like a samurai sword. It's a classic corporate power move. But the real power move? Having end-to-end visibility on your most critical shipments. FedEx, the new power move.
Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right.
DraftKings is all about responsible gaming. It's more fun when it's for fun. So play responsibly. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction.
Catch-22. Catch-22.
Alex, are you already dreaming of football season? I'm always dreaming of football season. I mean, let's face it, that's what we live for. Bob's Discount Furniture can help. Shop Bob's selection of top-rated Consumer Reports recommended mattresses like the Premium Copper Radiance, which boasts an as individually wrapped coil system for peaceful post-game Z's, and the Treasure Duel, which offer 1,000 fans saying gives them 5-star sleep. So stop in or shop online to score big on a better sleep setup with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. I was telling Ace earlier, I'm totally that meme where like they're in bed with the wife and it's like the thought bubble. And it's like, I bet he's thinking about other girls. And it's like, no, I'm thinking about the third string running back.
I thought you were going to say you were thinking about the furniture.
Because the Landlarison Island, or something like that, like random thing, that Patriots thing that's on my mind. All right, we're going to open the show up now to your thoughts, your calls, your emails. 855-PATS-500 is the phone number if you want to weigh in. Cam in North Carolina has been waiting. What's up, Cam? Cam. All right, you there? No, going once. All right, give us a call back and we'll get you on. A couple of emails here, Alex. So this is from Chris in Florida. You thought you're making fun of me for just judging people by their physique. Chris wants to judge Drake Maye by his press conference today after practice. So he said he listened to the Drake Maye press conference after practice today and has noticeably worked on his interview skills. He removed saying yeah before answering questions and slowed down his responses as well. He looks and sounds more comfortable. So I did notice that the yeahs were gone, maybe
Yeah.
just for today. I don't know if that's going to be an everyday thing. The one question that I thought was really interesting that to go along these lines of judging these weird things, the last question Tom Curran asked him
Yeah, that was a good question.
about like being Drake Maye, and I think that that's something that maybe hasn't come super naturally to a kid from North Carolina that doesn't necessarily think of it like that. And he
Right.
said, let's keep it the same. Let's keep the routine the same. Let's keep the home life the same. And that's what he's sort of doing and hoping for. But let's face it, like when you go runner up to the MVP and you're like a few votes away from being the MVP of the National Football League at 22 years old, 23 years old, runner up, in the entire league as the AFC champions, and you lose in the Super Bowl. He is now a superstar. Like there's no doubt about that. Like he is now a absolute star in this league, and a star athlete. It does change. Not saying that it's changing his personality. I'm saying his life has changed a lot, and how that you go about handling that. Some guys handle it well, some guys don't. Not saying again that he isn't handling it well, but I thought that was a really good question because it's not something that we think about a lot because we're thinking so much about the X's and O's and the way the games are played and the way he looks on the practice field and stuff like that. Then there was also the good exchange about how thick he's looking.
2 C's.
He's looking these days. But I thought that was a good question by Tom because it's an interesting topic.
No, it's something you wonder, like, how is this going to change him? It's a fair question for anytime any of these players really in any sport break out. You get money, you get fame. Are you still as driven? Are you still as focused? That kind of thing. So, it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it. But I thought he said all the right things.
The other thing that I thought, along those same lines, just quickly, the fact that Milton Williams shows up to these practices in the spring and is here all the time and is present, that's a leader. Like Milton Williams making $30 million a year. He's the highest paid player on the team, at least for now. He's won a Super Bowl and then went to a Super Bowl. Hasn't he been to 3 straight Super Bowls?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So there's no, like, Milton Williams is a perfect example of the type of guy that on May 27th doesn't necessarily need to participate in these practices, and he's out there, which I think says a lot about his character and about his leadership.
To be a captain.
I think he might be a captain. That was where I was going with that. Like, he wasn't a captain last year, first year with the team, first year with Mike Vrabel. Some of the captains that were first-year players, Spillane, Landry, like those guys have been with Vrabel, in past stops. So maybe this year Milton Williams gets the captaincy. This one's from Josh on some of the contract extensions. I'll just answer this one, this first part quickly. Drake Maye's extension eligible next off season. Same cadence as Christian Gonzalez. Going into his 4th season in the NFL, that's also when his 5th-year option decision would have to get taken care of as well. So same exact cadence as what we just experienced with Gonzalez. Just again, going back to the Gonzalez topic, which I do think is probably the topic of the day. What are your thoughts, Alex, on the fact that Christian Gonzalez isn't signed yet, and a money range that do you have a range in mind that you would be comfortable with signing him to?
So what? I got to pull up the.
I'll pull up. What about him not being signed yet?
It's not totally surprising. I feel like these things usually get done leading up to training camp or in the first few days of training camp. I'd said that, I think, going back, that August 1, is the day that you start to get maybe a little uneasy about it. Not even the start of training camp, the start of padded practices.
Yeah.
McDuffie got, what do you get, 4 years, $100 million?
Yeah, so the contract that I would look at if I was...
You're probably looking at $32 million a year. Whatever the length ends up being, you're looking at $32 million a year, which I would do that. So that's the market.
The contract that I would look at if I was Gonzalez's camp, and then obviously adjust it for the cap inflation and stuff like that. Derek Stingley with the Texans got a 3-year, $90 million, so that's $30 million per year.
Yeah.
48 guaranteed at signing. So now you adjust that for the fact that was a couple years ago, and the cap is going up.
McDuffie and Sauce are both, or McDuffie, is getting $31 million per. That's the highest AAV.
So at the bare minimum, you're looking at beating McDuffie's contract.
Yeah, and you're looking at least $50 million guaranteed.
So the only other question, and I have been on the camp of not being panicked about this at all.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think that there's a real deadline to this type of thing yet. Like, he's under contract.
Well,
you have the 5th-year option.
Unless you're worried about it being a distraction.
Sure, but I just mean, like, he's not going anywhere, right? Like, it's not a situation where he's, he's not even technically on an expiring deal yet, because of the team control that they have on him. So for that reason, I don't think the Patriots are in any real hurry, I guess, to put the money out there because they don't need to be. Like, and as long as he isn't truly holding out, and it's so rare nowadays that players actually hold out of games, like maybe hold out of practice, in the spring and stuff like that. But it gets to the point where they're holding out games. I'm still not very concerned about the timing of this all yet. But you also heard some whispers about Devin Witherspoon. Apparently, the Seahawks and Devin Witherspoon are miles apart. That's the same draft class. Devin Witherspoon was drafted, 5th or 6th overall by Seattle that year. And Gonzalez was 17th by the Patriots. Same draft class, highly touted players, 2 players that have more than hit, in terms of the talent. And Devin Witherspoon, I guess the reporting out of Seattle is that the Seahawks and Devin Witherspoon are pretty far apart right now on where they're at. I guess Seattle made an initial offer to Devin Witherspoon, and Devin Witherspoon didn't like it too much. So that's kind of where they're at too. So to an extent, it's like, well, the Witherspoon thing is not done either, right? So if you're starting to worry about timing and are they dragging their feet on it, are they not going to pay him? You could say all the same things about Seattle. They haven't paid Witherspoon yet either.
Right.
So until that Witherspoon contract comes in ahead of Gonzalez's, I tend not to be too worried about that.
Unless Gonzalez is okay signing first. And that's advantage Patriots if he is.
Yeah.
Because, that throws a wrench into the Witherspoon negotiations. Whoever signs second is getting more money.
Yeah.
But it also, waiting comes with the insecurity of not knowing.
Yep. So this is a question that's more like a big picture question. Let's go to this one from Destiny and Peabody. This is a good question. She asked, what did Jared Wilson's snaps look like today at practice? That's true. Last year, and she points this out, Destiny points it out, that last year he struggled a little bit snapping the football in practice. Now it's one practice, it's passing camp, so it wasn't a ton of under center work. I didn't notice anything about the snaps. I thought all the snaps looked fine. So if I'm not noticing that the snaps are over his head or at his, on his shoelaces or wide, or you'd notice it, right? If they had all these snaps. Last year, though, it's a good point, Destiny. Last year, the snaps were notable. Like, it was notable that he wasn't snapping the ball great, and the next thing we know, he's playing left guard. They're moving him up
I would say nothing out of control. There was one that was, low-ish. It was, kind of at his knees that Maye was able to go get. Yeah. But it wasn't egregious. That kind of snap happens 4 or 5 times a game.
Yeah.
Besides that, nothing in the ground, nothing over his head, nothing that he had to leave his stance to get, which is really what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a good question. You want to talk about the Jets? Talk a little bit about the Jets and around the AFC?
How much is there to say about the Jets? There's the Jets. Yeah, I know we're doing the segment, but.
So we're going to go around the AFC. We're going to do Jets, Dolphins, Bills over the next couple of weeks in the second hour of the show. You said you just now are just mocking the Jets a little bit. Were you not?
Of course.
You're mocking the Jets a little bit. That's fine. That's allowed. Totally allowed. Am I allowed to kind of like what they're doing? In a vacuum,
long term?
Yes.
Sure.
So here's the thing about the Jets.
But that requires them to lose many games this year.
Okay, but here's the thing about the Jets. I actually really like the moves that they've made this offseason. I think that they really had a good draft. I mean, just looking at their draft picks, obviously they're all high because they had a bad team, so they picked second overall. But David Bailey, Kenyon Sadiq, Omar Cooper Jr., D'Angelo Pons in the top 50 of the draft. They they traded the players, so you have to put that out there. Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, that's losing a lot of talent. But the hauls that they got for both those players gave them a bunch of draft picks moving forward, right? They have 3 first-round picks in 2027.
Yeah.
That a lot of people think is going to be a generational type of draft. They have 3 first-round picks in that draft, and I think they have an extra pick in 2028 as well from those trades too. Darren Moogie, their general manager, I actually think has navigated this pretty well. I was always of the school of thought with the Jets that there was a lot of buzz, especially in the Robert Saleh era, about how much roster talent the Jets had, but it never translated to any wins. And I thought at some point in time you had to look at it and say, Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner are great players, but we're not winning any games with those two guys. It's just not translating to wins. On top of that, especially with Quinnen Williams, less so maybe with Sauce because he's younger, are Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner realistically going to be a part of a great Jets team? Like, are they in a window?
The window was closing.
Right. Are they going to be in a window where they were going to be able to capitalize having those two guys at their prime? So what do? They flipped them for picks. I thought they had a good draft this year. They have 3 first-round picks next year. I actually kind of like what they did. Defensively, they went out in free agency a lot like the Patriots and paid a lot of guys in free agency. They have 8 new starters, projected starters on the defensive side of the ball. They made the Devondre Sweat trade, who we both like that player. You know, a guy that wasn't a fit to their system going down to Tennessee to rejoin Saleh, and they get Sweat. Demario Davis, I think, is a pretty good player at linebacker. All of these compliments that I'm handing the Jets all fall by the wayside because of the big 3. They still don't have a quarterback. They still don't have a head coach, and they still don't have a great owner. So they could make all these great moves around the fringes, and I can love their draft, and I can love the way that they're set up for the future. But that doesn't change the fact that Geno Smith right now is going to be their quarterback. I'm still not entirely sold on Aaron Glenn, and I also thought that he made some peculiar staff decisions coming off of his first year with the Jets. And Woody Johnson is Woody Johnson.
They're set up well. They're set up very well, but they're the Jets. They have to stick the landing. Yeah. And are they going to do that? Let me ask. I had a very interesting conversation with Mike Kadlick today at practice.
Nice.
I'm trying to think. Did you watch any of the Cincinnati? You did watch the Cincinnati receivers for the draft, so you can kind of answer this.
Cyrus Allen.
Yeah. So Brendan Sorsby was Cincinnati's quarterback last year.
Yes.
He was one of the top transfers in the portal this year. People thought he was going to be a first-round pick. He then got suspended for gambling. And, I mean, it was a lot. He went to rehab for it. He completed the program. He tried to get reinstated. It just came out the other day. The NCAA would not reinstate him.
Okay.
So he is now probably, he could. I haven't seen exactly where he stands on this. The supplemental draft is back, Evan. There's not been a supplemental draft pick since, I think, 2017.
Yeah, because usually there needs to be players that want to be in the supplemental draft.
Right, and the NIL's kind of thrown the supplemental draft out the window.
Yeah.
This is a rare instance where it could take place. So the way the supplemental draft works, for people who don't know, and I promise I'm going to bring this back to the Jets, it's not like you're just on the board and you pick. How it works is players declare for it, teams get a list, you put in a bid of a draft round on that player. And whoever has the highest bid gets the player. And if there's a tie, it's not exactly the reverse standings, but based on the number of wins, teams are put into tiers, and I think it's like randomized within the tiers or something like that. It's a little confusing. But the Jets would be in good position. So Adam Schefter reported that, and this Sorsby, who threw 27 touchdowns, 5 picks last year, led Cincinnati to a 7-5 record. He had another 850 yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground. Dual threat guy. I think NFL size, 6'3", 235. Adam Schefter reported that there could be second-round bids on Brendan Sorsby if he goes to the supplemental draft. The Jets have 3 first-round picks.
Yes.
Should the Jets get crazy aggressive? And now, I don't know if you can bid, if it has to be your own pick you bid or if you can bid somebody else's. But if you're the Jets, do you consider bidding a first-round pick on Brendan Sorsby? Some people said he would have been a first-round pick if he came out in this draft. And now you get the quarterback, and maybe it takes some time to ease him in. You're not going to get him till he's going to miss the whole spring.
But
you're not going to get him till the start of training camp. But you have him. Quarterback classes only get worse. They never get better as the year goes on. They only get worse. You have the guy. You got him. I think you pay him less too. I'm just trying to build this up as some dramatic thing because it's an interesting, unique situation.
It is.
From what you remember of watching Sorsby when watching Cyrus Allen, should the Jets consider bidding a second, if not a first-round pick, to get him in the supplemental draft?
I mean, I'd probably be willing to go with a day 3 pick or day 2 pick because you're probably going to take him in that range of the draft anyways, I would think. I don't know if he's a first-round talent.
Yeah.
But he might be a day 2 talent. So if you felt comfortable drafting him in the 2nd or 3rd round, maybe not the top of the 2nd round where the Jets are going to be picking, but in somewhere, let's call it, 85, right? Like in the middle there, 75, something like that. Then I mean, why not? The two biggest.
Well, Schefter's saying that there might be second-round bids.
Okay, but second-round bids for teams that are picking at the end of the second round are different than teams that are
picking at the end of the second round, bidding on a quarterback in the supplemental draft?
I guess it depends on what their quarterback situation is.
Not the Rams.
Well, the Rams just did that.
Drafted somebody.
Right.
Who else is there?
I don't know. If there's a team like the Rams, I can't think off the top of my head.
No, I think it's teams trying to get a quarterback.
I think it's teams that are trying to get a quarterback now versus like
they don't want to have to go through the process, the pre-draft process, and here's a chance to get a guy, and we can just get him and not have to do that whole thing.
So, according to Wikipedia, which is an awful source,
Yeah.
but this is the only one that has a great list. 2019 was the last time that a supplemental draft pick was used. Jalen Thompson, the safety from Washington State, got drafted by Arizona, the Cardinals. In our lifetimes, in our time,
there's only a couple players that were decent.
The two big ones are Josh Gordon and Terrell Pryor.
That's right. Terrell Pryor Terrell Pryor is kind of the comp here. What was the bid on Terrell Pryor?
Terrell Pryor was drafted in the supplemental draft in the third round.
Okay.
Josh Gordon was a second round pick.
Yeah, I remember that.
So Terrell Pryor, though, was originally drafted as a quarterback and then eventually became a wide receiver.
But he was drafted as a quarterback. So
he was drafted as a quarterback.
So, and by the way, here's how it works. So teams get divided into three groups. Teams with 6 or fewer wins the year before, non-playoff teams with more than 6 wins, and playoff teams. And then the order within those groups is determined by a weighted lottery system giving advantage to the team with the fewer wins. So the Jets will be favorable. If you really believe in the rest of the roster, I'd consider it if I was the Jets.
So
everything you've tried has failed. Why not?
Well, so I don't know if I believe in the rest of the roster for 2027.
Okay.
I would also say I have no belief whatsoever in the coach. And I'm actually no reporting or anything, but just on the outside looking in, I actually thought there was a chance that Aaron Glenn was going to be one and done. And I think he kind of, in a way, scapegoated his offensive coordinator, which I thought was kind of bogus because, just watching their film, which I had to do, unfortunately, twice a year, Tanner Eggstrand and the way that they designed that offense, especially early on in the season with Justin Fields, that was like the best thing the Jets had going last year, I felt like. I actually thought, especially early, and they had that big game against Pittsburgh in the opener, and I know openers are wonky, but Justin Fields was running all over the place. I actually thought that Tanner Eggstrand did some interesting things and did a good job. Aaron Glenn fired him. They fired him. They replaced him with Frank Reich, who... Frank Reich hasn't been a great play caller in a while. Like, Frank Reich had his heater with the Eagles. He goes to the Colts, the Panthers, had maybe a decent run with Indianapolis, if you want to call it that, for a period of time. But the Frank Reich thing kind of wore off, right? And I think the one thing with Frank Reich, with Aaron Glenn, is that he's an experienced coordinator. It's kind of like having an experienced guy like McDaniels, right? Where you have this young head coach who's probably in over his head a little bit, and now you have a coordinator like Frank Reich who has been there, done that, and knows what he's doing. But at the same time, I felt like Engstrand was like the one guy that was doing some things schematically that I felt like were kind of innovative and cool and actually put defenses in some binds and made it difficult to defend them at times. It went off the rails, and obviously they had to roll for the season that they had, and that's who it was. Aaron Glenn's a defensive coach. I think the big thing when they inherited the Jets, when Glenn did, and this was my take when they traded Sauce Gardner, Aaron Glenn wants to play with an identity. Like, Aaron Glenn's a lot, in a way, kind of like Mike Vrabel in terms of former player. He wants to play with a toughness, with a chip on his shoulder type of mentality as a team. He wants corners that are aggressive. He wants corners that can press and play man-to-man. He wants corners that tackle. He wants aggressive football players. I did not just describe Sauce Gardner. That's, Sauce Gardner's a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's more of a finesse zone kind of corner. Aaron Glenn, he's perfect in a Robert Saleh Seattle 3 kind of system. Perfect corner for that. That's not what Aaron Glenn wants to run. That's not the defense he wants to run. So they did, like I said, they changed over a lot of the players on defense. They make these big trades. Maybe they're trying to build a defense in Aaron Glenn's sort of eyes or identity. To your quarterback question, it all relates back to me with the Jets on, is Aaron Glenn going to be there or not? Is he the coach? Do you believe in the coach? And maybe, look, it worked with Gerard Mayo
but
and
here's
Drake
the thing.
May. Drake May persevered.
And if you're the GM, because this is a GM decision in terms of Sorsby specifically, if you believe Sorsby's the guy and you can get him, like if you believe in him, if you're willing to make that kind of investment in a quarterback, I would guess you believe he can work with any coach. You believe that he is not, you're not, even if it's second round bid, you're not bidding a second round pick on Brendan Sorsby because you think he's a great fit with Tanner Engstrand.
Sure.
You're bidding on him because you think he's a really good quarterback, and whoever the OC is going to be able to make it work with him. So it'd just be, does the GM believe in him or not? That's what it come down to me.
So, the other thing too, I knew, I talked a little bit more about the OC. They fired their defensive coordinator too. Steve Wilkes is out.
Right.
Brian Duker's in. So they changed coordinators under Aaron Glenn. That was the move because really bad season for the Jets. Mogi looks like he knows what he's doing a little bit, though. Their general manager, I feel like, has a good feel for it. Certainly thought he drafted well, and I thought he got really good returns on the 2 trades that they made.
Yeah.
I just, underneath him on the letterhead, I just don't know, or really above or underneath, if you want to throw Woody Johnson into this. Like, I just don't really know if they have the power structure that's going to work out, and obviously not planning on Geno Smith bouncing back, but I guess if you could get Seattle Geno, I just, I don't know if they have the weapons and the infrastructure for that, but they have the 2 tackles, Membu and Olufashanu. They now have Omar Cooper Jr. and Garrett Wilson. If I'm still holding out hope that Adonai Mitchell's going to figure out how to catch the ball.
He's really good up until he has to catch the ball.
Mason Taylor, Kenyon Sadiq, Breece Hall in the backfield.
No, they've got some good pieces. It's just the quarterback.
Am I crazy? Last Jets take, and then we'll move on. Am I crazy to like the Jets' path to a rebuild more than the Dolphins? Because I like what the Jets have done significantly more than the Dolphins. And I feel like they're both in the same boat.
I feel like the Dolphins are trying to straddle going to the bottom to reset versus being competitive. Well, I feel like the Jets have owned, hey, we're going to suck for a couple years and build it back up. I think the Jets have a clearer direction.
Yeah, I don't know what the Dolphins are doing. We'll talk about that.
I don't think the Dolphins know what the Dolphins are doing.
I don't know what the Dolphins are doing. They're all over the place. That's an interesting one.
Now, Paris Campbell retired.
Really?
I was a big Paris Campbell guy back in the day.
Paris Campbell's not that old.
Dallas Cowboys public relations. The Dallas Cowboys have moved wide receiver Paris Campbell to the reserve retired list. He's been in the league for a bit.
I mean, he can't be that old.
He's only 28.
Yeah.
Turns 29 next month. He's had some injuries, though.
I was a Paris Campbell guy, too. I thought just like speed, across the field, explosiveness, maybe a gadget player could win, jet sweeps, end arounds.
You're going to hate
like
this,
that.
too, but he was really good in Madden.
Well, I could see that. This is Bethel Johnson. All right. This is a long email from Bart in Poland, but it's making fun of you, so I'm going to read it anyway. So last week, we had a very big argument on this show about the Bills, naturally, and about coin flips, apparently. And Bart in Poland said last week, Bart seemed genuinely outraged by the idea that someone could believe the Patriots would split the 2 games with the Bills, while also not viewing either matchup as a true coin flip game. But you absolutely can. That's just simple probability statistics.
No, I was using probability.
Let's say you believe the Bills have a 70% chance to beat the Patriots at home. In other words, if they played 100 home games, they'd win 70.
That's not a coin flip game.
Then let's say you don't see the Patriots home game as a coin flip and gave the Bills as high as a 60% chance to win in New England. We got chance of Bills sweeping both games. 70% times 60% equals 42%. Patriots sweep both games. 30% times 40% equals 12%. Do you understand?
I asked you.
This is math. I know this is hard.
Right. That makes no sense.
If there's
a significantly greater, if you believe it's significantly greater than 50% chance that the Bills win both games, you are expecting them to sweep.
No.
I think that is a fine logic line. Do you think it is more likely or not? You think it's more likely than not that the Bills win both games?
Bart nails this, and I know that this type of math is hard to do.
I don't want to multiply fractions. I don't care.
I understand that this is hard for you.
You view the Bills as heavy favorites in both games. You think it would take a significant upset for the Patriots to win one of those games, yes or no?
A significant upset? No.
Yes.
But
then it's a coin flip.
No, a coin flip is 50-50.
Around 45-55. It's a little room, not exactly 50-50.
That's not a coin flip.
Well, the problem was
the probability that it lands on heads or tails is literally 50%.
Okay, so now we've gone the complete other direction. Last week, the coin flip one was too close for your liking. Now it's too narrow. Like, the problem was you didn't want to use my categories because you didn't want to put they're probably going to lose that game category on there.
No, I'm telling you that
I had 5 categories that made sense.
One of them, that both of them aren't coin flips. Bart just laid out the math for you. Maybe
The
I
coin
can show
flips
you.
are-
Maybe you're a visual
The coin
learner,
flip to me,
and you
I
can
don't
see
care
it.
about multiplying fractions. Okay,
That's-
I don't
that's
care.
That's probabilities.
But we're not
That's how it
talking
works.
about it in that literal of a sense. This is the problem with the analytics. You do it in such a literal sense when it
What do
doesn't
you
work
mean?
that way.
Yes, it does.
The coin flip
In this case,
games
it does.
are the most evenly competitive games on the schedule.
Yeah.
Do you believe Patriots and Bills, at least the one here, is an evenly competitive game? No, you don't. You said this in as many words last week.
I think it's gonna be a tough game.
You don't think they're competitive. You do
I
not
put it
think
in
the
tough game
Patriots
category.
can compete with the Bills. You don't think that. That's what you said last week. That's what you're saying
we
now.
weren't gonna argue about the Bills today.
You just have to have your Bills moment. You can't get over them.
I said we weren't gonna argue.
Well,
about
and
the
then you
Bills
started
today.
multiplying percentages
because
like
Bart,
I care about that.
Bart lays it out
Okay,
perfectly.
good job for doing the math, Bart. I don't care.
A split is 70 times 40% plus 30 times 60%, which equals 46%. Meaning the most likely outcome is a split, even though I think it's less than a coin flip. This makes total
created
sense.
the categories for the exercise we were doing. The coin flip category was these are the most evenly matched games on their schedule.
Chance
I
of
think
Bills sweeping
the Bills
both
game
games,
here,
42%.
I think the Bills game here.
Chance of Patriots
okay, but
sweeping
again,
both
you're
games,
changing the categories.
12%.
You're changing
Chance
the
of them
categories.
splitting games, 46%. Which is the higher one of those percentages? The split. So the highest probability is still a split.
I don't care about the literal multiplying of the fractions.
That's the way
made
I
up the
looked at
category.
it.
But I'm telling you what the categories were. The most evenly matched games. Is Patriots Bills an evenly matched game, yes or no? No, you think no. You think no. This
Not
is
yet.
my point.
Not yet. I got to see it again.
So you think the Bills should win both games?
No. I think that
if it's not evenly matched, then the Bills should win.
I still think that what Bart said is accurate.
Maybe
still
if
think
you
that
take
the
out the
most
calculator, it's
likely
accurate.
outcome is a split.
I came up with the exercise.
The most likely
I defined the
outcome
categories.
is a split, as Bart perfectly laid out. See, like, I'm one of those types of people that I'm bad at math, but I'm good at understanding numbers, if that makes sense.
Okay, this had nothing to do with the numbers.
I could not do... Like, I couldn't have explained the way Bart explained it. I would have butchered it last week if I tried to do that myself. But now that he's laid it out for us in the way that I was thinking it in my head, I'm like, exactly.
So
Bart.
he get what,
This is exactly
70% to win one, 60% to win the other?
correct for the Bills.
Who
which means that a split is
if you
still
were to
the
put
most
money
likely
on it,
outcome.
who are you betting in both of those games?
If I'm putting money on it, I'd probably put the Patriots. I'd probably bet the Bills in both games.
So you think it's most likely that the Bills win both games? Who would you?
That's all
I said.
Literally just laid it out for you perfectly.
I don't care.
know
For the last time, I don't care about the literal math of it.
You don't actually care about the facts.
No,
You
because
only
I
care
told
about
you what the
these
categories
hypotheticals.
were. I told you what the categories were, and you tried to redefine them.
Yes, I did.
That's a you problem.
because my categories were better.
No, they weren't.
You had too many categories. You had like 6 categories.
I had 5 categories. Strong yes, slight yes, middle, slight no, strong no. That's how that's how you do categories.
That's too many categories.
You glommed all the
many
no's
categories.
together and you turned the middle into a no. You completely threw it all out the
Bart.
window.
Thank you for understanding how, like, it's really, sometimes it's hard for me because, like, I'm not good at math. And I know that, like, my logic is sound, but I can't articulate it
Your
very
logic
well.
is sound if you
Especially
believe.
with that, like, I need, like, to, like, write it down or something. And then Bart just emailed that in and perfectly encapsulated my thought
Your
process.
logic is
Perfect.
sound if you believe the Bills are definitively better than the Patriots. I do not believe that.
I hope you're right. I still feel...
I think they're close. I think they're neck and neck.
I think they're close. I'm not saying the Bills are worlds better
if you think
than the
they're
Patriots.
close, then the Bills aren't definitively better than the Patriots. And you're jumping this line.
I don't think the Patriots
Because you don't want to pick the Bills to sweep.
I don't.
Publicly.
Because the
but you
probability
think
says
gonna
it's not the
happen 'cause
most
you're in your
likely
Josh
outcome.
Allen footy pajamas.
The most likely outcome is still a split, as Bart just laid out.
All right, Alex, let me ask you this, man.
Yeah.
So, in the red zone, who is more likely to punch it in? Is it the Bills or the Patriots? because at the Bills-Patriots game, it's going to come down to a red zone play. In the red zone, who is more likely to make it happen?
There's a football thing for you.
Okay. Will the Patriots run Drake May more in the red zone this year? But it is probably the Bills.
They did it actually in the Bills game, the second Bills game.
They did. That was a big difference. Well, will the Bills get down there, or will they turn the ball over multiple times as they did in the first matchup?
My whole thing,
turnovers in red zone. That's what the Bills and Patriots games come down to.
My whole thing with the Patriots and the Bills and the Patriots in general is that I think last year, and I'm not doing the easy schedule thing, I'm not going there, but I think last year they kind of caught lightning in a bottle in the sense of like all the vibes were off the charts and everything worked and every button Mike Vrabel pushed and every signing and draft pick they made, all of it worked.
Yep.
So I don't think they need all of it to work again because I think they have some foundational pieces. Like we added to our list of offseason shows the Daniel Jeremiah thing of do you have these 12 things? But I still feel like I need to see them do it again.
All right, so
the Bills have been doing it since 2019, 2020. 5-6 years in a row that they've been a relevant.
So we're going off of vibes.
Team.
We're going off of vibes. How are the Bills' vibes this offseason?
Terrible.
I
and
you know who else
I admit that they are terrible.
You know who else was really good in 2019? The New Orleans Saints were 13-3. 2019 was a long time ago, Evan.
I'm saying this is
the Chiefs. The Chiefs were very good.
I'm not talking about how good they were in 2019. I'm talking about sustainability.
Right. They are regressing.
They might be regressing.
They are actively regressing. They went 10-6 last year. They're actively citing the Bills have been good for longer than the Patriots. I think actually hurts your argument.
It doesn't. It's a proven commodity. It's a team that has shown me year in and year out that with Josh Allen
they've gotten worse each of the last 2 years.
A 10+ win team. But what's their floor?
The Bills? But are the Bills? We talk about this a lot. The undercurrent of the NFL, and it's designed to make the good teams bad and the bad teams good.
But even if we
let me finish. You have a 5-year window. We talk about it's supposed to be a 5-year cycle. The Bills, you 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We're on year 8 of that cycle. Are the Bills that special? Are the Bills that special? They're going to double up the cycle. Is Joe Brady that special? Are the players on the roster around Josh Allen that special? Or are they going to continue to get hit with regression?
Okay, but here's the problem. What's regression to them? As long as Josh Allen's healthy, let's take that out of it, right? Because if with any team that has a quarterback like that, if he gets hurt, then it's all bets are
what's
off.
Regression to them? They went from 13 wins last year to 12.
Right.
Let's call it 11.
Okay, so they're still an 11-win team?
Okay, and you're willing to guarantee that 2 of those are against the Patriots?
I didn't guarantee. You're saying guarantee. I never said guarantee. The probability is they still split.
But you're acting
Barth
like the Bills are. You're talking about the Bills. It's fine. There's nothing to see here. What's his name
I'm not talking about it like that.
In Naked Gun, Leslie Nielsen in Top Gun. It's fine. There's nothing to see here. Return to your homes. The Buffalo Bills are as good as ever. But with the New England Patriots, who just went to the Super Bowl, well, I have some real questions. They have some real questions from this offseason that they need to answer. All I'm saying is it's one or the other. I think they both have questions. But you cannot sit here and say, all is good. There's nothing to worry about with the Buffalo Bills. That's an insane take.
First of all, I never said there's nothing to worry about.
It is more
you've said 2 things in the last 3 minutes that I never said.
They're sustainable. I've seen them do it. I know what they are. I trust them. There's nothing.
You said that I guaranteed that the Bills were going to win both games.
That was being facetious.
Which I never did. You also said that I said nothing was wrong when you asked me what the vibes were with the Bills, and I said they were terrible, but yet I've said that there's nothing wrong with the Bills.
But you're acting like there's no real questions about the Bills.
I didn't say there's no real questions. I said that
what is their sustainable?
What does their regression look like realistically if Josh Allen's in one piece and is healthy? Then at worst, what are they? Like an 8-win team, a 9-win
10-win team? Yeah,
they're
around 500.
If the Patriots last year, if they truly were a paper tiger, okay, their regression from 14 wins is a lot harder than the Bills.
The Patriots should not lose. They might lose. Their win total might go down by more wins than the Bills, but they're starting from a higher point. Right? So let's say they both go to 10. You would say the Patriots regressed more, which is fine, but then they're even, which is what I've been saying I think they are. I don't think the Patriots have like a 4-win floor.
This is literally this isn't even
I think the Patriots and Bills floor is relatively similar.
This isn't even a Bills thing.
Yeah.
It's just talking specifically about the Patriots. My one concern about the Patriots is something that I hate talking about normally, and it is literally just vibes. Like their team last year, all of the little gimmicky things, Warriors, like Road Warriors, let's join the Mile High Club in Denver. Let's, all these little like Vrabel isms that he used and that they motivated the team and they rallied behind. All these different elements that they used last year to inflate their win total. Like that needs to work all over again.
Well, that's where you talk about the culture in the program, and that's why you hired Mike Vrabel.
If Mike Vrabel can replicate that again, and I think Mike Reese asked him about this at the owners' meetings and said, do you spend time thinking about we can't do these things the same exact way? And he said, I spend a lot of time thinking about that, and I really like where their roster is. I actually think that their roster is significantly improved even from last year, especially if we're sitting here in a week and A.J. Brown is also on this team.
Yeah.
I think that they have a really good roster. Defensively, I think that they have a chance to be a top 10 defense, maybe even higher than that if they all, kind of play to their potential on that side of the football. It's the one thing that I talk the least about, I would say. It's not analytical. It's not X's and O's. It's literally just feel.
Okay, now do the same thing for the Bills. How are the Bills' vibes?
The Bills' vibes are terrible. And I think the Bills, actually, I would argue, defensively, they probably have more holes than the Patriots do. They have more issues with their roster than the Patriots do. I just have a lot of respect for the quarterback. And I know that bothers you, but that's just the way it is.
Why don't you have that kind of respect for the quarterback here?
Because he hasn't been doing it for half a decade.
He's better last year. He's younger.
He just hasn't been doing it for as long. It's the same thing as...
Josh Allen turned 30, man. At a certain point,
What do you mean he turned 30? Quarterbacks are playing now until the late 30s. He's...
Not guys that play like that.
I mean, maybe, but he's I look at Josh Allen as more of a proven commodity right now than Drake Maye. I don't know how you can.
More of a proven commodity, but I don't think there's this crazy gap. I think they're close. I think the teams are close.
I don't know if there's a crazy gap.
You think single-handedly Josh Allen is going to beat the Patriots?
No, I think that's Josh Allen is like slaying a dragon, and it's not going to be easy whenever you play that team, whether it's here or there, to beat them because they have a great quarterback. Just like it wasn't easy for 20 years to beat this team because they had a great quarterback.
But that doesn't mean it's not an evenly matched game. We've seen Mahomes struggle mightily with deficient rosters. We've seen Lamar Jackson. We've seen Joe Burrow.
I didn't want to do this today. I really didn't.
So Josh Allen is immune to the lesser than roster, but none of the other great quarterbacks are.
No, he's not immune to it, but I think that there's a floor to his team as long as he's healthy that I don't think they're going to totally stink. As long as he's
I don't think they're going to be they're not going to miss the playoffs.
Okay, so then what are we talking about here? Would it be crazy if the Patriots went 8-9 and missed the playoffs?
I think they have the same floor. No, I think you're talking about those games like they're non-competitive. I think that they're too...
When am I talking about
I think they're evenly matched. I think the Patriots and Bills...
I never said they were non-competitive.
I think in 2026, the Patriots and Bills are evenly matched football teams. You disagree?
Yeah, I would still give it a slight edge to Buffalo, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
By the way, the Chiefs were 6-8 last year when Mahomes got hurt.
Yeah, the Chiefs fell out.
Is Allen's floor lower than... is Mahomes' floor lower than Allen?
I think Kansas City's roster fell apart more. Or is the TV flickering? I think their roster fell apart more.
I think they're about where the Bills are right now.
I don't. I think defensively, probably edge Kansas City, but offensively around Mahomes, Mahomes didn't have a run game like Buffalo does that they can lean on.
I guess
that's such a big element to it for me with Buffalo that makes them hard to play. Is they can put the quarterback under center with a great offensive line and a good running back and run it. I mean, that's how they got back in the game last year.
But that has nothing to do with Josh Allen. I shouldn't say that. It doesn't really.
It just has it gives them a crutch. It gives them something.
Mahomes was throwing a Juju and Tyquan last year.
Yeah, it was bad. That's what I'm saying. DJ Moore and Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid is better than that.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I think they both have an 8-win floor, the Patriots and the Bills. I think they're similar. I think it's competitive. That's just where I'm at. I think they're similar teams.
I think that I just give a slight edge to Buffalo. That's all. Right. And it has really nothing else to do other than I just want to see the Patriots do it again before I start crowning them the kings of the AFC East.
My whole point is I'm not crowning anybody. I think it's neck and neck.
Last year there was a significant difference between the schedules that the teams played. There won't be this year.
Well, I need to see the Bills stave off further regression before I king them.
That's fair. There you go. See, we come back around and we settle it.
Yeah, till next week.
Look at how nice we are now. All right, let's get back to the phones. Eldred's in North Carolina. What's up, Eldred?
Hey, man, y'all cracking me up. I love it. But I'm gonna say this. I might put it on online or whatever. But if they get AJ or BTJ, they beat the Bills both times. But if they keep that roster the way it is now and they don't get neither, it might be a split. That's where I'm going to go with that. And one question is, since the Cardinals is shopping Josh Sweat, would y'all trade for him? And I'll take it off the air.
Thanks for the call.
So first of all, that whole rant about the Patriots for me and the Bills, I'm working under the assumption they have A.J. Brown.
So
to be fair.
Yeah. I thought, look, it's one practice and I don't want to, oversell or overrate anything, but I couldn't help but watch the practice and be like, Romeo Dobbs is a nice piece, but they do kind of need the cherry on top.
If they don't get AJ Brown, the Bills might still be. I just to clarify.
I think Romeo Dobbs is a perfectly capable, high volume.
Love
receiver.
Romeo Dobbs is the number 2.
Yeah,
love him as the number 2.
Yeah, it felt at times today like you could kind of feel that, like, wow, this would just really, really elevate what they got going on here if AJ Brown is a part of this. So that's a big part of it. Josh Sweat, in or out?
I mean, what are they giving up? Right?
Yeah.
In theory, I said this earlier in the show, I think that this is their weakest position. They have the least depth. I'm worried about the guys at the top of the depth chart in terms of injuries. I would love to see them upgrade here.
Yeah.
Am I giving up the first round pick? Like, would I rather have Josh Sweat or AJ Brown? I think I'd rather have AJ Brown. So if it's that pick and you can send it one of two places, I'm sending it to the Eagles. If it's later on. So I'm just pulling up recent trades here. Well, that's a player for player. That doesn't help. Rashawn Gary. How would you grade Rashawn Gary relative to Josh Sweat, Evan?
Different type of players. That one's tough. I would say Josh Sweat's a little bit more dynamic as a pass rusher.
So on March 11th, the Cowboys traded Rashawn Gary for a 4th round pick. I would do that in a second.
I think Sweat gets more. I think Sweat gets you a top 100.
I would do a 3rd. I'd probably stop at a 2nd.
Yeah, I like the player, and I actually think he'd be a pretty good fit here. He's like kind of that like bursty off the edge, get off the ball, get up the field type of player. Kind of like a better Chase on in some ways.
No,
like he's got the long stabs, got the long strides. I like the way he plays.
Jonathan,
for them.
Jonathan Grenard. How would you scale Jonathan Grenard for Sweat? Sweat. Okay,
Grenard's
so he went. It was Grenard in a 7th for 2/3.
Okay, so we're probably looking at like a 3rd or 4th
I'm going to go
round
back
pick,
to last year.
sort of in that range. The problem with this
Draymond
is,
Jones was traded for a 5th.
The problem with this is that you're...
Oh, how would you scale him versus Jalen Phillips?
Pretty good comp.
3rd round pick.
Yeah, so I think we're looking at like a
Straight
third
up.
round pick.
Yeah.
But this is one, to me, the bigger thing is that they're making one move. They're either trading for A.J. Brown or they're trading for Josh Sweat. They're not doing both.
If you're trading...
Not when you have to pay Gonzalez and then pay Maye next offseason or in the next 18 months, let's call it, right? They're not putting out all that kind of
If you're
money.
trading a 28 pick for A.J. Brown, it makes it a little easier to swallow trading a 27. You're not trading him in the same draft. Sweat's contract...
I'm more worried about the money. I'm not worried about it, but in terms of them actually doing both those things, I'd be more concerned.
Well, I'll say this, though, as you referenced the Gonzalez and the Maye deals.
Yeah.
Sweat's contract's up after this year. Or there's an option, but you can get out of the contract after this year with very little dead money. So it's not a contract that overlaps Maye or Gonzalez.
Okay.
So it could be one of those, like, it would be the definition of capitalizing on the rookie contract.
Yeah. It seems like a lot.
As I understand, I don't know. The cap stuff always weird to me, but I think I have that right.
It seems a lot to push in the middle on this year's team.
You would have $5 million of dead cap in 27 and 28.
Listen,
each.
I think the A.J. Brown thing is different because I feel like the A.J. Brown thing is an investment in Drake Maye. as much as it's an investment in A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
I think we saw it out there a little bit today. You felt it at times last year in the playoff run. Like, they just need to make his life easier.
I think Josh Sweat's an investment in Drake May. Their pass rush might be like not good.
But that's more of like an investment in like the ceiling of the 27 Patriots. I'm more talking about investing in terms of like development of Drake May.
But
I don't want to see Drake May regress.
I guess.
And if you don't give him the weapons and the offensive line, the whole infrastructure around him to go out there and do what he did last year again, then you're going to see regression. And I think at times in the playoffs last year, they felt that. And I think they would feel it if they didn't have a guy like A.J. Brown around. The last thing, and we're big on this, and it maybe mattered more for like a Mac Jones because he didn't have the physical talent that Drake May has. You need to make a great infrastructure for your young quarterback. And I think right now they're close. I think they're really close. I think they have talent on the offensive line, certainly 2 first-round picks back-to-back on the line. I think they have a really good 2 through 5 at wide receiver. They have a good tight end room. They have a good running back room. The missing piece is like the stud receiver.
So again, if it's both teams want the same pick, I'm trading for A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
But just separately from that, I am a little worried about them on the edge. And if you had a chance to add a guy like Josh Sweat, I think that would be big.
Herm, you're up next, Herm. And no, Herm was going to mansplain math to Barth. I was really looking forward to that.
Was he actually?
Yeah, so maybe we can get Herm back on the line and he can explain math to Alex because that was fantastic. So next week, Alex, last 15 minutes here, we'll be back at OTAs on Tuesday. June 1st is Monday. If you're into that sort of thing in terms of timing, it has to be the deal for A.J. Brown would have to be processed on June 2nd.
Right.
So 4:01 on June 1st is when the wire technically shuts off for the day. The Patriots could agree to terms on Monday night. A.J. Brown could be a New England Patriot by Tuesday morning, as early as Tuesday morning. So that's a big thing. But what else, other than the potential of A.J. Brown walking through up the hill to the practice field out of nowhere on Tuesday, what else are you looking at based off of today that you're looking ahead to next week and want to see more of?
Again, that attendance stuff. Does Gonzalez come back? Not expecting that. Do we get to see Landry or Akis? Where are those guys at health-wise? It's A.J. Brown week, though. We're here.
It's A.J. Brown week. We are here finally. And the closer and closer that we get to it, not that I've ever really wavered for the Patriots being the front runners, but the closer and closer that we get to it, it feels like the tweet for Adam Schefter's in the drafts, and we're just waiting for the league to say, okay, like now, legalese wise, we're cool with it. Like, right, go ahead and announce that they came to terms. I just feel like there's no way that if he gets traded, and I still think he does, I just don't see a path to him not being to New England. Like, I know that there's some buzz that people are trying to create with other teams maybe coming back into this at the last second. I just don't see it. Like, I think he's going to be here. I think it might even be as quick. Like, it might be as soon as Monday night that we find out about this, which is exciting. Like, we don't usually get that kind of news drop in the middle of June.
Right.
So that'll be exciting. As well, the Akis one, it's on my radar, and not in a great way. I mean, you're not at rookie minicamp. You're not participating in that. Could it be contract related? Absolutely. It doesn't feel contract related to me, but the contract related thing is relevant to this conversation. He is right in that second pick window where like he might want the fully guaranteed contract. What
did it run through last year?
I want to say pick 50. This is all the Texans' fault, right? Isn't it the Texans that gave Jaden Higgins a guaranteed contract?
Yeah, I mean, it was going to happen eventually, but we can blame the Texans. That's fine.
Nick Caserio.
Let's see. Who was it last year? I don't know. He's at 55, so it's going to inch a few players deeper every year, basically. So he's on that line.
Yeah, he's right on that line. That maybe it's contract related. It might be physically, injury related. Again, like I said earlier, I hope that Mike Vrabel gets asked about it. A couple of other things, just to wrap up the show here, just looking ahead to next week. It stinks that these are such like passing heavy camps this time of year, because I really thought that Reggie Gilliam just looks like a great athlete out there. he's much more of an athletic fullback, like in not quite the pass catcher. I don't think that Kyle Juszczyk is, but he's built and he moves a lot more like a Juszczyk than he does a James Devlin. I'm just interested to see what Josh McDaniels, pulls out with a guy that he's not Jakob Johnson. He's not James Devlin. This is a true athlete at that position. And we got a question from Aiden about the screen game and could you see screens being a bigger part of it? I always felt, and this is just a me thing, that screens were more effective from under center than they are from the shotgun.
I would agree.
And so if you're in that 21 personnel group and you got the two backs in the backfield and you run some under center screen action or something like that, now you got Reggie Gilliam out in space, leading the way with the offensive lineman. I think that could be really dynamic. They were not a good screen team last year.
No, weren't they
dead? One of the worst teams in terms of
they
EPA.
Can we describe formations or no? I always forget how the rules change.
Technically no, but I think we can get away with it.
They had one with a running back. They got creative with the running backs and Gilliam. I'll just say that. I think they'll use kind of like how they used Westover last year, but again, I think Gilliam's just a better player. Where they kind of tapped into some of Westover's tight end background and they forced defenses into weird looks. I think they're going to have an opportunity to do more of that with Gilliam.
Yeah, I think that he's a lot more versatile because of his athleticism. He doesn't have to just be in the dot in the I formation, in the backfield. He's got that ability to move around a little bit more, play a little bit more on the wing of the formation as well. So there's some different things that they can do with him that I think are going to be fun and creative. Yeah. And that's a big part. There's another question that Drake Maye was asked about. A big part of the year two in Josh McDaniels' system for a lot of these players, and especially the quarterback, you already have the base installed. And yes, you have to go back and relearn it. It's kind of remember in school how they would reteach you for the first week or two would be a review of what you learned last year. That's exactly, they literally handle it exactly like a curriculum in school. So they come back in, the players come back in, they do a little refresher on what exactly they did last year. And for the new guys, they onboard the new guys. And then they start doing stuff that they are adding on to. And I think some of the things that we're talking about are ways that they can sort of add on to things. And I think that's exciting that they don't need to go all the way back to square one and reinstall the whole thing. Drake Maye said today that there's play calls in the huddle that he's heard before and that he's relayed and he understands why they're running these plays and he understands what his rules are and his reads are and all those different types of things. So that element of it, I think, is pretty exciting. Just looking at that list again of absences, Kyle Dixon, that was a weird one that popped out of nowhere. We hyped him up all rookie minicamp. Out of that minicamp, he was the star of the show, him and Baron Morton. And then he wasn't out at practice today. So a couple of those guys with the absences and things like that, that'll be interesting to look at. But we'll be on A.J. Brown watch. What do you think it ends up being with A.J. Brown, trade compensation?
There's enough reporting it's a 28 first, which I don't love, but it's the price of getting business done. It's going to be weird for us. If they trade that first and don't recoup it next year, what are we going to do that spring?
That's true.
We'll talk a lot about the second round pick. What if they're not picking till pick 60?
Yeah, I mean,
we're gonna have to really get deep. We're gonna have to really nerd out.
So we argued a little bit about the first round pick of it all. I think I'm still fine with the 2028 first.
I'm fine with 28.
I don't want to touch 2027.
The ideal scenario to me in 27 or 28, and I would do this in 27, is it's a second round pick that becomes a first if A.J. Brown has 1,200 yards, the Patriots make the playoffs, whatever, however you want to qualify that. The Patriots, something that means the Patriots are clearly good enough where they're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, what I trick, because I think that means at worst case, it's the 18th overall pick. It's a little rich for A.J. Brown, but it's not unrealistic. I just don't want to accidentally give up the 5th overall pick for A.J. Brown.
I would just not lose
that I
sight.
think they're going to be there, but guys get hurt. You never know.
Right, because I think a lot of the conversation now, because we've beaten this horse all the ways to beat it, is that, are you comfortable with overpaying for A.J. Brown? And I guess in short, I guess my answer is yes for the opinion I have on that. But I don't feel like it's going to be an overpay because of how much it's worth it in a 2-year window.
Right.
To have a player of that caliber.
Look, ultimately,
for Drake Maye,
if they win a Super Bowl with A.J. Brown on the roster, who cares what they gave up?
Right. Even if he's a perennial Pro Bowl caliber player for the next 2 years, and they're in it. Like maybe winning the Super Bowl is hard, right? So like they're in it. They're in the playoffs both years. They're a competitive team, like kind of like obviously the Eagles won one, but like kind of like the Eagles, right? Where they're just they're good. They are a good team, and AJ Brown's a part of that. I don't think any of us are gonna look back on it and be like, it'd be really nice if they had the 29th pick in 2028,
right?
I just don't think that you're gonna look back at it that way, especially with how good it could turn out with AJ Brown on the team. So. I don't. If that's overpaying, then that's overpaying, I guess. I don't think it's overpaying. I think this is a true investment in your young quarterback. The one thing that I think,
like in theory, it's an overpay. If you want to go, you and Barth and Poland want to go do the actual literal math.
Wow,
it might be an overpay.
Yeah,
but sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to bite the bullet to make your team better. And at the end of the day, in the short term, it would make the Patriots better, which I think is the most important thing right now.
It would be one of the bigger moves the Patriots have made because it's a trade and not a free agent signing.
Yeah.
That I can remember since I started following the team. I mean, Steph Gilmore in free agency, Darrelle Revis in free agency. I guess the Randy Moss trade would probably be the last time.
But that was also a 4th round pick, and Moss wasn't.
He was coming off. He was coming off some bad years with the Raiders. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like the biggest.
I think the Moss trade was a big trade. That's a big deal. Like Randy Moss at that point in time was already a Hall of Famer, probably, just off of his Minnesota years. Like, obviously a big superstar receiver like that. But this is more in a different situation with AJ Brown. But I would say like other than those free agent signings that I mentioned, maybe the 2021 spending spree, where they just signed a bunch of dudes or. Even last year, they had a big free agency, splashes, Milton Williams, all those guys. But the AJ Brown trade would be big. I don't make any plans Sunday night. Like I think that this thing could happen quick Sunday.
Well,
Monday.
I will be at the. What if it happens? Are you going to the Drake Maye softball game?
I might. It's pretty far from me, but
if it happens while we're there, that would be wild. But no, I'm coming home from that, and then I am fully on AJ Brown watch.
Okay, so. Either way, whether AJ Brown is here or not,
we will have plenty to talk about.
We'll have plenty to talk about next week. Next Tuesday, we will have a practice to watch. Patriots Unfiltered is being pushed to the afternoon. Patriots Unfiltered tomorrow at noon, obviously at its normal time, where we'll talk more about our practice takeaways and get what I haven't even talked to Paul and Deuce. I don't know what they thought of practice, so that'd be interesting. Tuesday, later in the afternoon, right, Ace? So like 2:30 for Unfiltered after practice.
2:30.
Yeah.
2:30, yes.
Yeah, and so we're rearranging the schedule here, both for the Patriots' spring practices, but also stay patient with us because the World Cup is throwing our whole show schedule through a loop. So we'll keep you updated on socials about where this show is going, but I'm just gonna be upfront and honest, there's gonna be some wonky show times.
Just follow us on social media.
Over the next 4 or 5 weeks, and obviously you can get it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can get the listen to it after the show if you don't listen to it live. So those were obviously an option as well. But live show, it's going to be a little wonky the next couple of weeks thanks to the World Cup.
Hopefully I'm here.
Excited? What did you think of the U.S. roster that they released?
I believe.
Yeah,
I believe that.
He doesn't know.
I believe that we will win. Yeah, I'm not a soccer guy.
There's a few questionable decisions on the roster, but I didn't think anything too crazy.
When's the World Cup start? When's the first match?
June 9th, I want to say.
Okay, so we got some
Turns
time.
out that Christian Pulisic did make the team. I was a little worried about that for him.
Actually?
No,
Okay.
Not actually. He's the best player
Well,
on the
because I know,
team.
wasn't there an issue with the coach keeping certain players off over personal matters?
The coach made some decisions that were kind of like we talk about with coaches in the NFL that were sort of like my guys versus like the more talented, like raw talented players.
But Pulisic is just above that.
Pulisic is the best player in
So
in
the first
country.
match is June 11th. So we do have time. But we've become a bit of a basketball podcast, so I didn't know if we want to do soccer too.
Maybe
next
week you can give your take on the 26-man roster. Matt Turner, New England Revolution zone.
Love Matt Turner.
He might be the starting goalkeeper. It sounds.
Well, I think I just who's winning the tournament?
Who's winning the tournament?
Do your pick, yeah.
If I had to make a pick today, I'd still probably pick France to win the tournament. But
I'm gonna do some research and get back to
maybe do some research. But
The U.S. group, U.S., Paraguay, Australia, Turkey. That doesn't seem like that bad of a group.
Well, remember, there's 48 teams in the tournament now.
But just from their group, I'm saying.
They should not get grouped. They should not. They should get out of the group.
Yes.
If they don't get out of the group, that's a catastrophic failure.
Give me some like actual meaningful soccer to watch in the summer, and I'll watch it.
They should get out of the group.
All right. That's all I'm looking for.
I am not expecting them to win anything beyond that, but it would be kind of embarrassing to not get out of the group. Some people think they're going to go to the round of 16. That's a little rich for my blood. That'd be winning a knockout stage game.
They almost won a knockout stage game. Was it last time, 2 times ago?
No, they got their butts kicked by the Netherlands last time.
Maybe it was 2 ago.
The Dempsey Donovan team won.
Yeah, 2018 they got to the round of 16, right?
Yeah, that team won a knockout round. Okay, anyways, that's enough. That's enough for
we
that.
didn't do any Celtics, so we had to fill with something.
Next week I want to hear your take on the U.S. Men's national team roster.
All right.
I want to take from you. All right, we'll be back next week talking Patriots OTAs. We'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.